years, and I did SWAT. I was a field training officer. I was a spokesperson for the police department for about a year. So I did a lot of things on the police department.
Nice, nice. We'll have to have a conversation on that one day because I was with HSI for many years, so we could
Oh
definitely
yeah,
have a good discussion on that. Especially Tucson, it's a very busy city for HSI, man. You're not too far from the border.
yeah, it's crazy out there.
So I know me and you've been going back and forth, right? We disagree on some things, but I think it's always been a very civil and respectful discourse among from our disagreements. One of the big things that we disagree on, obviously, is Israel and our aid and our support of them. I think my audience kind of knows my position already. Do you kind of want to give yours so people don't mischaracterize where you stand with Israel?
Yeah, I mean, my support are I'm a stunt Zionist, to say it bluntly, but my support for Israel is twofold. I think it's a strategic support by the United States of America to have Israel as a partner. I think we fund Israel for strategic purposes, which I agree with. I don't agree with everything Israel does, but for the most part, I think that they're a valuable partner for us. Also, there's a spiritual element of it, biblically speaking. Israel and the state of Israel, the promised land, the Jewish people are all a part of my faith. And God has made a promise to those people, and we should honor that promise. And so I support and believe in Israel spiritually and support the state of Israel, the Jewish state. And then also, they're our biggest ally for a reason. And I'm in full support of that.
Okay. Cool. So I guess I know the spiritual reasons that could be a whole discussion in itself, getting into, Christianity and the theology behind this. So I'll just kind of keep it strictly more contemporary and from a military / U.S. foreign policy perspective. So you're saying like from strategic purposes, can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit more as to like why you think they're a good strategic partner or are valuable ally?
Yeah, because I'm an American first person, but I'm not an isolationist. And I understand that there's value in America having strategic partners all over the world to help us in defense, to help us against common enemies. And I think Israel's position in the Middle East, and they've been just that. I mean, in order for us not to have our troops fighting on the ground and dying for every war that goes on in the Middle East and fighting against enemies that hate America, they wish death to America, we have strategic partners like Israel, and with technology and other things that Israel brings to the table, outside of our Judeo-Christian connection, that's pretty much why I think that they are a partner for us and why they are beneficial in America, for America interest. And we can see that on a lot of scales. We'll get to it as we go through the conversation. But there's many fights, wars, and battles that America don't have to fight because we have Israel.
Fair. My argument to that would be I think that they have brought on a lot of the wars and the problems that we're currently dealing with. For example, right, we know for a fact that Israeli intelligence was out there during 9/11, and 9/11 spurred the entire war on terror that we're still dealing with to this day. Israeli intelligence were the ones that basically gave us the botched information about the weapons of mass destruction. When you look at all of the architects for the Iraqi war, almost all of them from PNAC, and the people that authored the Clean Break Memo were all Jewish Zionists, right? Dual allegiance, Jewish Zionists. From, Bill Kristol to Douglas Feith to Daniel Pearl to Wolfowitz, all these guys, all the architects of the Iraq war were all Jewish neocons. And I think that they've caused quite a bit of problems for us with this war on terror. And if it had not been for our interventionist foreign policy, which is structured by Jews, we wouldn't have the problems that we have now with the Middle East.
I think that the only place I disagree with, and I think we agree on the fact that we shouldn't be fighting endless wars and stupid wars that don't benefit America's interests.
Agreed.
And I think we did get dragged into a war. But the difference in what you believe and what I believe is that I don't think is solely the responsibility of Zionists and responsibility of people from the Middle East or Israel. We have our own intelligence. We have our own military, and we have enough common sense to fight our own battles if we deem necessary. We don't engage in every single war that comes up and every single war that is beneficial for Israel, right? We're not fighting in Gaza, and we had limited capacity to fight in Iran. We're not fighting Hezbollah. We're not fighting any of these other front wars that Israel is fighting currently. We're not putting boots on the ground and doing any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have strategic positions in those, and we're not ignorant. And people act like somehow our military personnel don't have common sense. We fought that war in part for a benefit for America. And I don't believe that it benefited America as much as the warmongers would have liked it to, but it was an American's decision to do that. Israel didn't even help in the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. They didn't help in any of it. They didn't have boots on the ground.
Yeah, and they're the ones that got
They
us in.
That's
what
shared
makes it so
intelligence.
bad.
Well, they shared intelligence with us, but they didn't fight in the war. So a
Bad
person can say in
intelligence.
part,
Bad
we can say
intelligence.
bad intelligence, but at the end of the day, the onus is on our people. Just because they come with intelligence, we don't verify intelligence. We don't make our own decisions. I don't think that's a fair statement. I think that you could say that they've given us bad intelligence. And if so, our government was responsible for taking those intelligence and running with it. Our government was the one that spent hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars in a war, and we were there for 20 years. We didn't ask Israel to help us whatsoever other than intelligence. So
well,
I think that we have to hold a bag on that.
Yeah, well, okay, fair enough. Members of our government made really bad decisions, but let's ask, why did they make those bad decisions? Because they're Jewish and they have an affinity and a desire to support Israel. A lot of these neocons that I'm talking about from the Bush era in the early 2000s are Jewish, right? Let's just be honest here that Jews have an affinity to the land of Israel, and that makes them have dual allegiance. That creates inherent problems. And the reality is that they've had this strategy since 1996. Since Benjamin Netanyahu took office after Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated, which many suspect he was killed by a Likud, well, not even suspect, he was killed by a far-right Likud party member who people to this day, to include Yitzhak Rabin's widow, believes he was the one that was behind him being assassinated because he struck the Oslo Accords, which would have been the framework to a potential two-state solution. So Netanyahu gets into power, and then a bunch of framers write the Clean Break Memo in 1996. And in that memo, it illustrates all of the Middle Eastern countries that they want to take over. Iraq was at the top of the list. And then you fast forward to the year 2000, PNAC puts out a paper, Project for a New America. In that paper, they say they're going to have a Pearl Harbor-like event. They would need that to institute some type of regime change. And then, bam, a year later, 9/11 happens. We have Israeli fingerprints all over 9/11 from the people that were in the towers, from the people that did the insurance policy and owned the buildings, to Israeli intelligence overseeing it and taking pictures and documenting it, art students that were in the country for multiple months or a year. And this is all factual. This isn't even conspiracy theory.
Right, no,
we just
no,
have all
it
this
is,
stuff that's there.
It is, some of it is conspiracy,
Well,
right?
let me just finish real quick. Let me just finish
okay,
real
go
quick.
ahead.
So you have all these fingerprints, right? These Israeli fingerprints. And then next thing you know, after 9/11 happens, we're going to war in Iraq. Where did that intel come from Iraq? It came from, them making the lie, saying that Mohammed Atta, the lead hijacker, went ahead and met with an Iraqi intelligence official somewhere in Asia, and they passed anthrax to each other. And then Netanyahu came to the United States and said, hey, if we take out Saddam, there's going to be positive reverberations all across the region. And then we went to war in Iraq, and it didn't benefit us whatsoever. It cost us, trillions of dollars. 1 million people died. Soldiers died. And I think America got smarter and didn't do boots on the ground now because it would have been so heavily, disavowed. But there's so many different things here where Israel creates problems.
Well, this is the thing. If you want to say it was a joint venture that went south, then I wouldn't disagree with you that it was a joint venture. But to blame Israel and blame the Jewish people or Jews for the entire scenario, I think is disingenuous. The commander in chief,
all Jews. I'm blaming the Jews that were in power that wrote this stuff.
The Jews are in power, but you got to understand, unless you are saying that George Bush had absolutely no he had no fight in the game, or he had no say in what we do in the military as the commander in chief of the United States military. You have to act as if somehow he don't have any say or he's not responsible whatsoever. Well, that's almost obfuscating responsibility from the bad policy positions of our own government.
No, you're
right.
If
you want to say in a joint venture, and there's two sides to think about it. You could say in a joint venture in good faith they acted and it was wrong, or you could say in a joint venture they acted in something that's not in the best interest of America. We're not in the business of doing regime change, and our government was a part of that. So I think we agree that Afghanistan was a catastrophe. I think we agree that we shouldn't have been in Afghanistan and Iraq the way we had been. And our government was wrong for that. But to obfuscate responsibility and act as if it's just the Jewish leadership and the Jews are running America and the policies and all of their intel, we just take at face value with no type of resistance whatsoever. I just don't think that that's the case. If you want to argue that Jewish influence had a part in it, of course it did. Of course they were our allies.
That's precisely the problem. You have American politicians that are Jewish that are putting the needs and the needs of a foreign government.
Americans.
No, there was
every politician is not just Jewish.
No, well, I'm not saying every politician. I'm talking specifically.
I'm saying you got to say the entire Congress, out of entire Congress that approve wars. Especially in both House and Senate.
Let me explain.
How many Jewish people were involved in that.
Almost all the framers, all the people that are pro-war, right? The people that were the decision makers. Remember, and let me say this too. Bush was effectively asleep at the wheel with the whole war and the war on terror. Bush was extremely inexperienced, incompetent. It was Dick Cheney that was running everything. And under Dick Cheney,
Dick Cheney is not a Jew.
No, I know, but everyone underneath him, right, that were the framers of the war, right, were either hardcore Zionists or Jewish. Okay.
Okay, let's make a difference there. Are you saying that your argument is Zionism and Zionist? Are you saying that Jews are the problem?
It was both Jews and Zionists. The ones that aren't Jews are super pro hardcore Zionists. So, but the reality is, but that's a problem. That's a big problem.
I think the problem is that, how is it a problem if you want to say that unwavering loyalty to Israel, in a part that affects America negatively without any due diligence, that is a problem. I agree with you. But when you bring up Jews as if it's somehow uniquely Jews are involved in this, or they're leading the charge here, I disagree with you. Now, if you say Zionists, that includes Americans who do not have necessarily a lineage from Judaism or a lineage from Israel. They're just people who believe in Israel's existence.
To the detriment of the United States, and that's the problem.
Well,
we got no benefits from the war on terror.
Why is it just isolated as the Jews?
Okay, so see, and this is what everyone is kind of scared and everyone dancing around it. I'm just going to call it like it is. The main architects and perpetrators of the wars in the Middle East are American Jews that have a dual allegiance to the United States. Do they have Americans who are not Jews that are Zionists that support them as well? Of course. But I think it's very important that we need to understand that at every single infrastructure in American society that has influence, whether it's big tech, the government, social media, finance, media, etc., it's controlled and run by Jews. They have an enormous amount of influence in our country. And the problem with that is that they have a dual allegiance. When you have this dual allegiance, you're going to do things that might not necessarily put America first or give America the benefit. Now, I'll say this. The war on terror was a monumental failure. We spent trillions of dollars on a war that didn't really benefit us, but who did it benefit? It benefited Israel. They've been able to destroy or destabilize or cuck each of their enemies in the Middle East, and we've been paying the bill for it.
I disagree with you on that point. Okay, let's talk about the idea of Jews, right? Okay. Jewish people and people who are Jews are not all the same. And I'm not trying to say you're saying that, but it's coming across as that, right? You have people who are ethnically Jew, you have people who are religiously Jew, and you have Jews who are leftists and Marxists, and then you have Jews who are conservatives.
Sure.
And so when you say people who are leading these organizations happen to be Jews, of course some of them may be Jews, but that's not as if being a Jew is a problem in and of itself. Marxism is a problem. Now, if people are leading,
who made Marxism?
Pushing Marxist agendas.
Who made Marxism?
Marxist Jews.
See, here's the thing, man. Sometimes we just gotta call a spade a spade.
The Marxist
right?
Jews are a problem. Can we agree to that?
Well, Marxism in itself is a problem, but that's a Jewish construct. So is feminism.
All if you say it's a Jewish construct. Jewish construct. That's not Marxism isn't exclusively for everybody that's a Jew.
No, but it was made by Jews.
Marxist Jews came up with the idea, so Marxist Jews are the problem.
It's made by Jews.
Marxist Jews. Marxist Jews.
Karl Marx was a Jew.
Right. Jews that believe in Marxism. That's like saying these ignorant black folks who vote a certain way that's destroying this country, somehow black folks created that. No, it's these ignorant black folks that are creating that.
Fair.
Black people are all not the same.
Let me say this. It's not all Jews, but damn near every time it's always Jews. That's what I'm trying to say.
But the biggest threat to America
is Jewish influence.
Jews.
The biggest
threat.
It's not. That I will say it right now. Everyone else is too scared to say it in the right wing. The biggest threat we have in America is Jewish influence and subverting our government for their own agenda. Dude, the Israeli government just procured TikTok, the biggest social media platform in the country.
Who?
Israel just procured TikTok. Larry Ellison.
Israel just procured TikTok. Who's the biggest? No, just because but who invested in TikTok as well as Jewish influence?
Well, are you talking about when China had it, or are you talking about right now?
No. China started it. So first of all, one of the biggest influence was China.
Yep.
It was a big problem in America when China ran it. Mm-hmm. Investors into TikTok aren't just Jewish investors. There's Qatari investors as well. There's people from the Middle East investing in TikTok as well. They didn't secure TikTok as a Jewish and the Jews procured TikTok. That's not true.
Okay, let me
That's
summarize.
not reasonable.
Give me 60 seconds to quickly summarize the TikTok thing. Back in 2020, they were talking about banning TikTok because it was collecting way too much information on American citizens. They were thinking about getting rid of it. They never got around to actually do it. Fast forward, October 7th happens, and TikTok becomes incredibly pro-Palestine versus 30% pro-Israel, about 70% pro-Palestine. Jonathan Greenblatt goes to Israel and talks to the Knesset, or one of these government institutions, and says, hey, we have a problem in America. The youth are being indoctrinated by TikTok. They're seeing way more pro-Palestinian content. We need to do something. All the Jewish organizations in America, all across the West, got together and said, we need to rally against TikTok. Trump comes into office. What does he do? He gets TikTok down for about a day, and then he's able to get it back up. You can't put the watermelon emoji. You can't put from the river to the sea. All that stuff is banned. Fast forward even further. They're still not satisfied with how TikTok is being pro-Palestine. Larry Ellison acquires it. Now, all of a sudden, 2 days later, you can't type in AIPAC. You can't say America's run by Zionists, any of that stuff. So they're effectively beginning a censorship regime as we speak.
This is all speculation and conspiracy.
Larry Ellison is a huge supporter of the IDF. He's one of the biggest donors, and he's a Jew as well.
Look at X.
Okay.
X is the biggest anti-Semitic platform on planet Earth.
They're going to censor
Why
that
is
too.
it that case? And Elon Musk is not an anti-Israeli person. It's because it's a free speech platform. Now, do people see that there's a problem with anti-Semitic rhetoric? Yes, they do. So if the person who procured TikTok wants to combat that, that's their own agenda. You can't spew anti-Semitic things on any other platform except X. You can't do it on YouTube. You can't do it on any other platform. Now, just because this platform is associated with a Jew, don't necessarily mean it's some Jewish agenda for them to curate speech. If this was the case,
so it's just a coincidence that they acquired TikTok as Israel's trying to do a rebrand. Netanyahu's doing a bunch of interviews. They're putting money into influencers. They had a meeting in New York with a bunch of influencers literally 2 days ago. Now they get TikTok. You don't think that it's all just a coincidence?
No, so you're telling me the entire existence of TikTok is framed around Jewish propaganda?
No.
People
That's
on
not what I'm
TikTok,
saying.
billions of people all over the world that are on TikTok that have nothing to do with Israel.
That's not what I'm saying.
Don't care nothing about anti-Semitism. So you're saying that the crux of this is somehow because of Israeli propaganda or because of anti-Semitism?
No,
that's not the case.
Let me explain
TikTok
why
was
I'm
a threat
saying
to
that.
America that had nothing to do with Jews.
Okay, fair. When TikTok was a threat to America because of Chinese spyware, we didn't get it banned. It still existed.
Well, no, they were in the process of banning it. They brought it to Congress.
No,
listen. They banned it on government devices, so the government couldn't have TikTok on their devices way before anything was talked about anti-Semitism. So our government already took proactive steps to ban TikTok in various forms.
Yeah, but
they were trying to ban TikTok.
They were trying to, and they didn't do it, right? They were talking about banning it back in 2020. I remember, you remember, cool. And then they didn't get it done. However, it wasn't until TikTok started becoming more pro-Palestine and the Jewish lobby and Zionist groups started complaining that they were able to get it banned. So in other words, American national security when it comes to Chinese counterintelligence is not as important as making the Zionist organizations happy and getting watermelons banned. That's power. Our national security doesn't matter what's Chinese, but when the Jews start complaining, it's like, oh no, we gotta get rid of this thing. And then Larry Ellison went ahead and procured it like a couple of days ago. I mean, it's just too perfectly, no, it's not just a coincidence.
That's for you to say Larry Ellison is acting in poor faith, like somehow he's
a hardcore Zionist. He's a hardcore Zionist.
If a business, like for instance, let's just say this: if I had enough money to procure TikTok, because I ban anti-Semitism, because I don't believe in anti-Semitism, I think it's wrong, don't mean it's an entire conspiracy theory that I bought it just to curate the speech against Jews. That's what they're doing.
They're literally already banning. They banned
every
Free Palestine.
Platform.
They banned the watermelon. They banned From the River to the Sea. They banned pro-Palestine content.
Every platform on earth except X already bans anti-Semitism. So it's not some phenomenon that an American company is going to ban anti-Semitism. Elon Musk is doing something different than just about everybody else, and this is why a lot of people use X. He has an open platform. I know for a fact that Elon Musk is against anti-Semitism, but he is not going to use that on his platform because he operates in free speech. So you're saying that another American purchased platform that says that they don't want anti-Semitism on it is somehow a conspiracy. No one in their right mind will only look at procuring a major multi-billion-dollar company, trillion-dollar company, just for the sake of curating speech around anti-Semitism. That's not the case. The platform is much bigger than just people talking about Israel and talking about Palestine. This is a worldwide platform that people are on all over the world. And you talking about the speech about Israel and Palestine is probably a very small percentage of what influencers and people who operate the platform is actually talking about or experiencing. Because through all the years, this wasn't even an issue until this war happened. Then 2 years of the war created a lot of anti-Semitism. And this is why people are addressing it in the first place. Are you saying that Donald Trump and our government solely focused on anti-Semitism on this platform, forced the sale to an American company, and they knew who would buy it?
No, what I am saying is that we did not give a shit about TikTok when we dealt with Chinese potential counterintelligence.
That's not true.
We didn't, because it didn't get banned. But as soon as October 7th happened, and Jonathan Greenblatt starts complaining and saying, yo, we got a TikTok problem, and the Zionist lobbies and organizations got together and boycotted and said, we need to do something about it. Well, guess what? TikTok got taken down for a day, got brought back up. They banned a couple of phrases, and then it went, and then they said, okay, we're going to go ahead and do some type of resolution in the meantime until someone gets it. And then once Larry Ellison picked it up, now we're seeing censorship come in even more so on that. So am I sitting here saying, oh, it's a grand government conspiracy? It might not go that far, but what I will definitely say is that the state of Israel is trying to do a rebrand right now, and they're hiring influencers, paying them $7,000 a month, $7,000 per post to put pro-Israel content. We know that Netanyahu met with a bunch of influencers not too long ago when he was here in the United States. We know that he's doing more interviews. We know that Israel is trying to do a 180 because they know that they're about to go ahead and have a war with Iran, and they need public sentiment with that. Also, the youth no longer support Israel. So what would be better than to take control of the app that most of the youth in America utilizes and exercise extreme censorship with pro-Palestine stuff and put more pro-Israel propaganda out there? And that's what they're currently doing right now. And then here's another thing too. I'll be honest. Trump is cucked for Israel. I mean, we have anti-Semitism bills on the books that is deterring people's ability to have free speech. How is it that someone that's in America...
Is anti-Semitism wrong or not?
Here's the thing. Being critical of Israel and bad behavior from Jewish people is, if people want to call it anti-Semitism, I call it just being honest.
That's not anti-Semitism. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about anti-Semitism. I'm talking about the deliberate hatred of Jewish people for the sake of them being Jews, the conspiracies and lies that are targeted against Jewish people, assuming that all of them are the same, lies online about them committing genocide and operating in an apartheid state.
They're committing a genocide. It is an apartheid.
They're not committing genocide. What in the world make you think they committed genocide?
Every single human rights organization, all the genocide scholars,
let's look at facts.
They've all come forward and said that this is a genocide. It's irrefutable. Even Israeli organizations, B'Tselem even identified as a genocide. Let's compare it to
what's another genocide that has happened in modern history? Let's name one. You want to go to Rwanda?
Sure, we can go Rwanda, Kosovo, whatever you.
Where a million people were killed in 100 days. Mm-hmm. Did they give them food? When they killed 1 million people in 100 days, did they give them medical supply? Did they give them medical aid?
Well,
did they give them resources? Did they send leaflets and let them know we're going to take out this village? They went through person by person, murdering them in cold blood. Many of them not even having guns. They were hacking people. When you go to the Jews that were exterminated, pretty much over, I don't know, half of the Jews that live in Europe were murdered and killed and gassed. That's a genocide. When you're operating in a war, in urban warfare, and you're letting people know that we're going to bomb a building and to evacuate, how do you justify saying that they're intentionally going after a group of people to commit a genocide?
Okay, so the thing with genocide is you don't have to have it written down and make it deliberate for it to be a genocide. It's killing a group of people in whole or in part. That's number one. So by definition, it is a genocide. Even Israeli human rights groups are coming out saying, yeah, this is a genocide. Maybe in the beginning it was harder to make that argument. Bro, this isn't even a war. It is a war.
What do you mean? What do you mean it's a war?
It's not a war.
They have hostages. They have hostages still. They're still fighting the IDF. They're still killing them. They've lost plenty of soldiers in this war. It's still a war.
It's not a war. Would assume that both parties have the ability to actually fight each other. We're
just
talking
because
about
somebody losing don't mean it's not a war.
Well, it's not about. Here's the thing. Okay. This is a genocide 100%. You mentioned food. There's a blockade. They can't get food in. Since March, they've been starving them, right? Because the blockade ended in early March. They've been starving them. True. And then number two, you said the leaflets. The whole leaflets thing, that's another scam. What ends up happening is the Israelis will drop these leaflets. Sometimes it doesn't get to the people. Sometimes they drop it, and then the bombs are hitting as the leaflets are landing. This is assuming they're in the place saying, oh, man, let me get this leaflet so I can be notified when I'm going to get bombed. Israel's bombing them indiscriminately and killing people. We have
That's not
60,000.
true. Where's your evidence at that they're bombing indiscriminately?
Gaza's totally gone. 90% of the
No,
infrastructure is
you say
gone.
Gaza's totally gone, but do you know why
90% of the
some of the
infrastructure is
buildings?
gone.
Do you know why some of the buildings have been taken down?
Sure, that they can go ahead and say, we know that there's terrorists there. Hamas is there. They're hiding. They got a base.
Not just terrorists. They have to give the authorization to do any of the strikes. Terrorists are operating out of these buildings, or if they're booby trapped. And we know, based on all of the information that's provided, they booby trap these buildings and they're taking them down. And think about this. If they wanted to kill all these people, they could have done it a long time ago. Why do they send leaflets in the first place?
To create some plausible deniability that they're not doing a genocide, but they are doing a genocide.
You don't see a video. You cannot find a video right now where you can post where they're sending leaflets and bombing at the same time. I can show you at least 3 videos I can send you where they're showing them calling people and dropping leaflets. I can show you a multitude of videos where people are actually filming buildings getting taken down. How do they know the buildings are going to get taken down?
I mean,
because they've been notified and they've evacuated.
Okay, here's the thing.
Show me a building where they're getting taken down with people in it.
Let's assume that the leaflets all land where they're supposed to go. Everyone is getting it.
They're getting the text millions messages. Of them being dropped.
Let's assume that all of that is true. It doesn't matter. They're killing people and they're bombing indiscriminately, knowing that this is a densely populated area where
they're not bombing indiscriminately.
They absolutely are.
Where do you see a video of them bombing a building with people in it?
I'll tell you how I know that they're bombing.
Except for the hospital that we just saw recently.
They're relying on a software from Palantir called Lavender. This Lavender software basically says, oh, we're going to put this guy either in the kill, not kill, or whatever. They have like a weird little thing that they use to analyze, or algorithm that they use to analyze if they're going to kill people. They have something like a 15-to-1 ratio. So in other words, they're okay with killing 15 Palestinians for 1 terrorist. Okay? This is why
that's not the war ratio that's even...
That's 83% of the people that they've killed in Gaza are civilians. 83%. This comes from their own stuff. This comes from their own declassified military documents. They've been killing innocent people all day. We got 60,000, right, that we know have been killed. That doesn't come from people.
According to who?
That comes from the Hamas ministry, and Israel has actually accepted that number, right?
Yeah, because they're reasonable. They say, okay,
it's way more than that. It's like 300K easily.
How many people live in Gaza?
2 million, 2.3.
And you said 60,000 have been killed in a 2-year war.
And majority of them are innocent, and there's more than 60,000.
How many of them are combatants?
Not even 20K. Not even.
How do you know? Who's giving that number?
That's what Israel's giving. They're giving somewhere between 15 and 20K. They're claiming are Hamas combatants. So at minimum, off their own numbers, they've killed 40,000 innocent people. But we know it's way more because there's people under the rubble. There's people that are missing. There's people that got blown to smithereens that we don't even know where they are.
And they could
people
be combatants. And they very well could be combatants. How do you know if they're not combatants?
Brandon, 2.3 million people. Hamas fighting force is not that big.
How do you know how big their force is?
Their fighting force is not that big.
They don't wear uniforms. They don't have military bases. How do you calculate how many people are Hamas? How many people are they recruiting? How do you know?
Regardless, here's the thing: as they kill more
people,
it's a
war going on.
Yeah, I get it. As they kill more people are probably joining Hamas because they're killing innocent people every day. But the point is,
it's a war going on. It's a war going on, Myron. They're not just bombing buildings with people in it.
Okay,
just for no reason.
So let me ask you this. Let's go to October 7th. Let me use that same exact phrase that you did. It's a war. It's a war. It's a war, Brandon. They went in there. They kidnapped the 200 people. 1,200 people died. It's a war, bro. It's a war.
Yeah.
Would that be acceptable?
Look, this is what I say every time I go on campus. I say, I don't have a dog in the fight. When I say I don't have a dog in the fight, I'm not Israeli or I'm not Palestinian, and I'm not there. I'm an American. Now, if I look at it and people are saying that it's an apartheid state and they're committing genocide.
It is an apartheid.
Then it's not an apartheid state. That's the most ridiculous thing you could say, Myron. That's the easiest point that I can disagree with you on very easily.
We'll do the genocide, then we can hit the apartheid after.
All right, we'll hit the apartheid state, and that's the craziest thing ever.
But
when you look at it, you say, okay, if they believe they're in an apartheid state, they believe that Israel's committed genocide, then hey, go and fight. They did, and if you accept that, then they're now losing. So now you have to accept that. If you go over to somebody's country and you start a war and you kill innocent people and you behead people and you take them hostage and they come back and whoop you, why are you complaining about it? You started a war, they finished the war.
No.
The end.
No. Well, here's the thing. This war's been going on since way before October 7th is what I'm trying to say. And the thing is that the Israelis would never accept if I said, oh yeah, bro, those 1,200 people that died on October 7th, that's just war, man. It's just war. It's like
it's a difference between making strategic strikes against a country that initiated a war and have your people still hostage. And they're
I
firing rockets
can make
into
the
Israel
argument
all
that
the
they're
time.
okay. Well, if we're going to go ahead and use the hostage thing, how many hostages does Israel have of Palestinians? They got like 11,000, and a lot of them were arrested without charge. They have no due process. They were just kidnapped because they're Palestinian. And
That's what you say. That's
true.
That's not the truth.
They have 11,000 prisoners right now in Israeli prisons.
That don't mean they're all hostages, brother. They arrested people for no reason.
A lot of them are there without charge. No charge, no court case, no nothing. They just picked them up and arrested them for no reason.
They just pick them for no reason. They
Yes.
just want to. Where they go? The
Yes.
West Bank or Gaza to get these people.
There's a bunch of prisons all across the place.
Why is it not?
They're
Why is it
raping
not
prisoners
50,000?
in there. They're doing all that.
Why is it not 50,000? Why is it 11,000?
11,000 is too much in itself. See, here's the thing. This is what let's just deal with the elephant in the room, Brandon. All right. The reality is this: Israelis don't value Palestinian life. That's what it is.
That's
don't
not
care.
true.
They don't value Palestinian life whatsoever.
How is that true?
An Israeli
How's that
life
true?
is worth far more than a Palestinian life. That's why they're kidnapping them. They're putting them in jails. They're raping them in the prisons. People are protesting, saying, "Oh yeah, we have the right to rape our adversaries in war." It doesn't matter. People were literally protesting, saying that we have the right to rape Palestinian males in prison. This is the kind of country that we're dealing with here. Giving ally.
Have you ever been to Israel? Have you ever been to Israel, Myron?
No, I would never go. They'd kill me.
Well, they'll kill you. See, Myron, you got to understand that you're saying something that's completely false and superfluous. What would they kill you for in Israel? I went to Israel. I was there for 2 weeks. Did you know that Gazans and Palestinians work in Israel?
Yes, I do know
Over
that.
100,000 Gazans and Palestinians before
Absolutely,
October 7th, they worked in Israel. Did you know when you say that it's an apartheid state, that's the most ridiculous claim ever, because Arabs have a right to serve in the Knesset. They serve in the government. They're in the Supreme Court.
There's
they
only
fight
one.
in the military. How is it? No, but they do serve in the military.
Yeah,
they do have rights. After the war in 80 and 48.
Yeah,
when the war ended up happening, 2 million Arabs decided that they wanted to be Israeli citizens. So Arabs have free reign. They can do whatever they want to do in Israel. That's not an apartheid state. An apartheid state is racial discrimination. That would mean
it is a racial.
Only Jews are allowed to be in Israel. Only Jews can serve in the Knesset. Only Jews can serve in the military. That's not true.
Okay, so
Arabs
here's
can
why it's an
serve just
apartheid
as well.
state. It's a Jewish state, which means it must have a majority Jewish population. It's called the Jewish state.
It's no say that it's supposed to be a majority Jew. It just so happened to be a Jewish state. Therefore, it's a majority of Jews there.
No, they have to maintain this is a big reason why they will never do a one-state solution. This is one of the biggest reasons why they won't let these Palestinians just come in and be a part of Israel and end all this conflict, because they need to maintain a Jewish majority, because they claim to be a democracy, but the reality is they're occupying people illegally in the West Bank and in Gaza that have no rights.
They don't want to be a part of Jewish society. They don't want nothing to do with the Jews. They hate the Jews.
Well, they've stolen their land.
They bombed the Jews.
They've stolen their land.
They did what land?
They stole their land.
How did they steal their land, Myron?
They kicked them out in 1948.
They didn't kick them out. No, there was a war.
Yeah.
They had a two-state solution in 1947 that Israel agreed to, and the Arabs denied. And then they had a war against Israel, and they lost. Okay. And they were the ones that displaced millions of people. They sent them to the West Bank and sent them away from the mainland in Israel because they thought they were going to win. And then they lost.
Okay.
They displaced their own people.
Okay, let's go through this real quick. Number one, it is a genocide. Every scholar, it's irrefutable at this point.
You're a scholar.
It's a
compared
genocide.
To what genocide? Well, let's compare it to what genocide is it compared to?
It doesn't have to. You don't have to compare it to other genocides to say, oh, well, not enough people died, so we're going to call it a genocide.
This is a war.
No, it's a genocide.
Did America commit a genocide in Japan?
Well, here's the thing. We weren't trying to kick them out of their land.
It's not their land, Myron. Jews were there first.
Okay.
Is that not true? Hold on. Let's go to history. Is that not true? Were Jews there first?
Here's the thing. The Jews have been there, but so have been the Canaanites, and the Arabs have been there as well. But they're displacing
so let's say
them to
they
kick
both
them
have
out.
a joint. Just say they both have a joint access or a joint claim to the land. So it was not Palestinians' land. It's both of their land.
See, here's the thing. Then we're going to get into the diaspora and then how Jews are, because the Jews that are there today are not the same Jews that you're thinking about that were there during biblical times.
No, but many of them were. Many of them were.
The majority of the Jews that are there now are Ashkenazi
not
Jews,
who
who are European
That's
Jews.
Not true.
For Ashkenazi Jews are the majority in Israel. They're by far the majority.
No,
Ashkenazis.
That is not true.
Who are the European Jews?
That is not true that they don't have a DNA lineage to the land of Israel, and therefore their ancestors were there.
Ashkenazis, no. But let me
it
just.
is. It's a proven fact. There's peer-reviewed research that shows that Ashkenazi Jews have a bloodline directly to the bloodline of Abraham. Okay. I wrote an article about this.
Okay. So let's go to the we're talking about you could say you don't think it's a genocide. Every scholar says it's a genocide. I think
Not a
it's
genocide.
irrefutable. If you look at the definition, it's absolutely genocide because it's
They're not intentionally killing people and
the
displacing people for no reason.
They're trying to do an ethnic cleansing right now. That's why they've destroyed Gaza and they're trying to get these guys
cleansing.
out. Yes,
why,
they're trying
why
to
are
get
they
them
not
out the
going to
land.
the West Bank then?
Well, here's the thing. They got the war that they need on October 7th to go ahead and take over Gaza. They're absolutely going to try to displace those people and get them out of there. That's why they're destroying all the infrastructure so they can make it uninhabitable, so that they can say, hey, look, man, this sucks. You might as well go to one of your Arab countries on the side here. So that's.
Did you not read the peace deal that Donald Trump and Netanyahu agreed to?
That peace deal. And then what did Netanyahu do the next day? He did another interview in Hebrew saying, oh, yeah, this is just diplomacy, feigning diplomacy. He said in Hebrew.
But the agreement is the agreement. I don't care what he say. They had an agreement on the books that he signed off of, other Arab nations signed off on, and that was the rebuilding, the commitment to rebuild Gaza. They will exit Gaza, and there was a commitment to many
they're
countries,
not going to exit
including
Gaza.
the United States, to
they're going to move. They're going to move back a bit, but they're not going to exit Gaza. They're not going to.
No, they're going to. The agreement said
exit.
that they would completely exit Gaza.
They're not going to completely exit.
They have security control over Gaza, the land, but they're not going to be occupying in Gaza. There was an agreement that they made.
They're still going to be in Gaza. They said that they would pull back a little bit, but
no, they didn't.
All right, they
will completely withdraw from Gaza.
Okay.
That's what they said in the agreement.
Let's go to apartheid, and then we can go into this agreement.
Okay, apartheid.
The reason
definition of apartheid.
Yeah, the reason
we both know the definition of apartheid,
sure.
correct?
Yes, and the reason why I said it's an apartheid because Israel occupies the West Bank. They also occupy Gaza. These people have no rights. They have no representation. They can't vote. They can't do anything.
That's not true.
The people in Gaza can vote. The people in the West Bank can vote.
People in Gaza voted for Hamas. They
Sovereignty?
can't vote in Israel, but they vote for what's in their own territory.
But they have no sovereignty.
They voted for Hamas.
They have no sovereignty at all. They don't control their airspace. They don't control their internet. They don't control their water. How do you think Israel's able to starve them right now? The fact that Israel's able to do this blockade and starve them proves that they have no sovereignty.
Myron, how are they getting water right now?
From Israel.
Okay,
Israel controls everything.
They're not killing these people. They're giving them water. They're giving them medical supply, and they're giving them food.
And they're still dying of starvation.
How many of you have died from starvation?
Thousands.
No, give me
thousands. Thousands. We don't know because so many people have been dying. We got 60,000 right now, right? We got 60,000. When this war is done and the fog of war is gone and we're able to actually recount everything and go through the rubble and everything, it's going to be hundreds of thousands. It's going to be hundreds.
That's fine. If you say hundreds of thousands, okay, there's 2 million people that live there.
2, 3, yep.
And you say the starvation. They have given hundreds of thousands of tons of food over this 2-year war because there was.
That doesn't mean that the food gets in.
No, yeah, because and according to the UN,
because they're not letting it in.
According to the UN, 96% of all the aid is getting looted, and this is the reason why Israel and it created a bottleneck because they did not want Hamas controlling the food, and the UN disagreed, and so they created another supply chain with the United States of America, and they created avenues in which they can get the food in an equitable way without it getting looted. And this is what they did. This is why they're still eating. You can go see pallets and pallets of food
that are not in Gaza
on the border that they hadn't been getting because
of the
UN.
Sitting outside.
Because of the UN.
No, because Israel will not allow them to get in to bring in the food.
Myron,
workers, you know how many aid workers have been killed by Israel? Israel's killed journalists. They've killed aid workers, to include American citizens. They've killed paramedics.
There's no legitimate evidence of them killing aid workers. However, there are evidence of them killing journalists. They kill in strategic strikes. And some of these journalists were a part of.
They killed
Hamas.
Paramedics. They killed 20. They killed 20 paramedics and gave them a shallow grave, and then lied about it, saying that they didn't have their emergency lights on. The New York Times wrote a whole thing about this, showing that they did have their emergency lights on, and they were clearly wearing markers. And then a couple of different countries sent in aid workers to bring in food from like United Kitchen, etc. And they bomb and kill them. Australians, Americans, Canadians bomb and kill them.
They argued that there was a mistake, and they owned up to it. They said they did, and they said it was a mistake.
Oh, it's a mistake. Like this is unacceptable,
Myron. If they wanted to kill hundreds of thousands of people, they can do it. Yeah, they clearly are not doing that.
Yeah, because
if they wanted to starve them, they could starve them and cut off their water supply, and they'd be dead in the first 8 months. Why are they not doing that, Myron, if they want to commit a genocide and they're trying to kill all these people?
Because you can't be as obvious about it. The goal is to make it so bad.
They're obvious according to you. According to you.
The goal here is this. This is the goal. The goal is to make it so bad and uninhabitable that they have no choice but to leave the land so that Israel can go ahead and colonize that part as well. That's what the goal is.
Israel already have control militarily surrounding the land of Gaza. They already have control over the airspace and the sea. So it's not something new that they're trying to invent. They tried to give them, they withdrew. They pulled up the graves of Jews from Gaza.
Yep.
They forced Jews out. The idea forced Jews out against their will to vacate Gaza.
That was a political
to give
play.
it to the Palestinians.
That was a political play. They did that so that they can
They
expand the
still
West Bank.
forced people. They still forced people out.
They did that
against
so they
their
can
will.
expand the West Bank. That's why they did that. They did that as a political, like, fake out so that they could continue to expand on the West Bank, because that's where they actually want to focus on putting a lot of the illegal, which those settlements, by the way, in West Bank are 100% illegal.
No, they're not 100% illegal. That's not true.
The entire international community has condemned it and said it's illegal. They're 100% illegal.
I have a inkling that you may not understand what the West Bank actually looks like.
No, I know what it looks like. It's disconjointed, right, land,
right,
that isn't contiguous for the Palestinians, and they did that on purpose, by the way, with all of their different partition plans that they've had. And
we could talk. True. It's up for debate.
There's roads there that Palestinians can't even use, and they've strategically cut the West Bank up in a way where it makes it extremely difficult for Palestinians to have any type of ability to do trade, to have any type of sovereignty, etc. They did this on purpose so that it's.
Well,
go ahead.
I disagree with you, but if they did it on purpose, then so what?
The settlements are illegal.
No, it's not illegal.
Yes, they are, because when they had the Oslo Accords and they've had these different agreements, the agreement was, hey, look, we're going to go ahead and work on the Oslo Accords was supposed to be a framework for a two-state solution, right? And that was contingent upon them coming and revisiting and having something, making agreements to create some type of two-state solution. During this time, they aggressively went ahead and killed building in the West Bank because the Israelis practice something called facts on the ground. And what that basically means is, we're going to go ahead and have this, loose framework that we're going to operate under, but we'll come back and revisit it in a year, in 2 years. And what they do is they aggressively bulldoze houses, build settlements, make it bigger so that when they do come back to the negotiating table, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we've kind of expanded a bit, the facts on the ground are a bit different. You're going to get this amount of land now. And the thing is that no one can challenge them because they got the U.S. backing them. They have a superior military. They have airspace. They have control of everything. So no one can really hold them to anything because they could do what they want because they have American backing.
Well, let's put it in perspective. They're not occupying the West Bank territory that the Palestinians are in. They're occupying territory that's not
designated for
the
from the Palestinians originally.
There's no stolen from anybody. Why are you saying they stole something from these people?
Bro,
they didn't steal. You don't have when the British can mandate that Jewish people come back to the land. When the British can mandate it, that means that the Palestinians didn't own the land to start with because there was the British mandate. The Jews came back. The Jews came back. If you look at historical documentation, the Jews came back and they purchased land legally. They purchased land from the Arabs. They purchased land from the Palestinians legally. And then the Palestinians didn't want them there.
Sure, let's talk about that.
We got hold on. We'll get to that. But let's compare. It's the same comparison. Why don't people think the same thing about America and the Native Americans? People can argue that it was their land, but at some point, when you fight a battle and you lose, you're subject to the conquest of the country that won,
sure,
or whatever leadership that won.
Well,
we did it to the natives, and the Israelis have done it to the Palestinians.
Here's the difference.
What do they owe them?
Native Americans get their own land. They get a nice little stipend check. They're American citizens. They have full rights. They can do whatever they want in America. Yes, it is terrible what Americans did to them and colonized them, but they at least have citizenship. It's not apartheid. They have the ability to do whatever they want, and they get a nice little check just for being Native American. That's why a lot of them are alcoholics. That's a whole other conversation. But let's go ahead and talk about, because we were talking about the war, right, in 1948 before that.
But wait a minute, Myron.
Because you said that they bought the land, right?
Yeah, let's not jump there because Israel gives a lot of benefits to Palestinians as well. They work and they're able to do commerce in Israel.
A minority.
It's not a minority. It's 2 million. Thousands of them.
It's 2 million, and the majority of Israelis are Jews. That's why it's called the Jewish state. But then you have millions in the West Bank and in Gaza that have no rights. And they have no rights
to Israel. They have rights in their own.
But they're being occupied by Israel.
Land. They're not being occupied.
The entire international community, Brandon, everyone knows that Israel's occupying Gaza. They're occupying Gaza and they're occupying the West Bank. This is irrefutable.
How do you occupy a place that you won in the battle? They had multiple wars that they won. How are you going to say after Israel wins a war that they're not entitled to everything else everybody else get when they win a war?
Well, they win the wars. We could talk. You know what? Yom Kippur was like yesterday? The Yom Kippur War back in the 1970s, they only won that one because they flexed nuclear weapons that they stole from us.
Did they win or did they not win?
we had to do a huge airlift to save them. We're going to
When
lose
we
that
went,
shit.
when we win a war and we begin to take over the land, there's nobody that argue that somehow the land don't belong to us and we are wrong for doing whatever we do with the land that we occupy now that we won a war. If Palestinians would have won the war and they occupied the land against Jews, nobody would be crying about it. You fought a war, they lost the war. Israel can do whatever they want to do with the land. They could push these people out of the land if they wanted to, but they're generous and reasonable enough to give them many of the holy sites that they got in Judea and Samaria. They have a portion of the old city of Jerusalem, and they have their own government system that they voted for and elected,
now,
who have robbed them blind, and then they elected a Hamas in Gaza. I'm glad that Israel is not stupid enough to allow these people to completely run the sea and airspace and everything, because Israel would not exist if Hamas could run and have access to airstrikes. Israel wouldn't exist. They shot 4,000 missiles into Israel after October the 7th. And the only reason that they didn't kill everybody because they got the Iron Dome.
And how many missiles how many bombs does Israel drop on Gaza in the past year? Well, thousands.
As many as they need to.
So see how when it's Israel doing the attacking, oh yeah, they're doing what they got to do, etc. But then if I say, well, yeah, they're going to retaliate. Oh well, no, they're terrorists. Like here's the thing.
No. First of all, you got to look at the charter of Hamas. They're a terrorist group. They're designated by a terrorist group in the United States of America. Who designated them as a terrorist group? We designate them as a terrorist group.
Yeah, but you know who did that?
Well, maybe when they cut people's heads off, maybe it'd be an indication that they're a terrorist group.
Okay, Israel was created through terrorism. The IDF used to be the Irgun, Haganah, and Stern Gang. Those are terrorist organizations. The thing is this: the person that designated Hamas and Hezbollah as terrorist organizations was a Jew named.
Do you think?
Was a Jewish woman named
Hamas is a terrorist organization or not?
Here's the thing: we're going to go off the definition of terrorism, right? We're going to go off.
Come on.
No, sure, we can have this discussion. The definition of terrorism is committing acts of violence in furtherance of political agenda. Correct?
Yeah.
Would that be fair to say that's how the FBI defines it? Cool.
Yeah.
If we're going to call Hamas a terrorist organization, so is the IDF. That's my position.
How is the IDF a terrorist organization when they're literally a defense force for a democracy defending their people? They're not going out and actively committing terror against people to push a political agenda.
Yeah, no, they're not. They literally are. They literally are.
Show me a video. Well, give me an example.
The state of Israel,
terrorist activities the IDF
The state of Israel was created through terrorism.
No, it's not.
Yes. Before the IDF was a thing, because they rebranded, there used to be the Irgun, Haganah, and Stern Gang. These three organizations were paramilitary Zionist groups that were terrorist organizations that killed British people. They killed Palestinians. This is why the Palestinians didn't want to agree to the partition plan that you're talking about in 1947, because that peace deal that you're talking about, we could go through it. Because you said that the Jews bought the land. That's a lie. Back in 1947, they didn't buy any land. I said
the Jewish people, no.
They stole it.
I'm not talking about the state of Israel. The state of Israel, the mandate from the British mandate allowed them to own and occupy certain areas. But what I'm saying is that when they got there, they didn't force Arab people out. They bought land legally. That's how they begin to expand.
Sure.
And they begin to get
money, how much land they owned?
And commerce and all of this stuff.
You know how much?
You
know how much land they owned? The land they owned at that point? 6.6%. That's how much they owned in 1947. That's how much land they actually owned. So of course the Palestinians are going to be like, okay, at that time the Zionists were about 30% of the population, maybe less than that. They owned only 6% of the land. They wanted 56% of the land when they had that 47 partition plan. Of course, the Palestinians are going to agree to that. And then on top of that, they wanted all the fertile land that had the best soil with the best waterways, etc. So the Palestinians were like, fuck no, we're not going to go ahead and let you guys have 56% of the land, even though you guys are 30% of the population. You guys only own 6%. So no one would agree to that.
No, all fertile land is not true. Not all fertile land is not true.
The majority of the fertile land was in the 56%. Was in the 56%.
They purchased and negotiated swampland that the Arabs never want anything to do with it. And when you go to Israel today, you can see the land that they purchased and they beautified.
It was only 6%. It was only 6%.
That's fine. So they disagreed.
But they wanted 56% of the land. They only owned 6 legally, and they wanted 56%.
The first partition was going to give the Arabs and Palestinians 75% of the land, and Jews would only have 60% of the land. 40%. No, it was 75%, 16%. They disagree with that. 1947 was going to be the land partition that you're talking about. They disagree with that. Then they went to war with Israel.
You're talking about the Peel Commission. Okay, let's talk about the Peel Commission. 1937. Yeah. Ben Gurion is the one that was the architect of that one. Ben Gurion admitted when he was going through and doing the whole Peel Commission, because yes, you're right. The Israelis were going to take roughly 20% of the land. That was a lie. The only reason he agreed to do the Peel Commission was so that Israel and the colonists can have some type of international credibility with trying to make peace. And then in 1947, they went ahead and they asked for 56% of the land. So you can see here that they're slowly encroaching and asking for more land, despite the fact that they don't own the land and they're only a minority. And how do I know this?
They don't. Neither one of them owned the land at this time.
Ben Gurion.
Neither one owned the land.
Ben Gurion admitted to his son in his memoirs, October 5th, 1937, he admitted this. We are only doing this. We're feigning diplomacy, something like Netanyahu's doing now. We're feigning diplomacy. We are going to take all this land for us. So the goal was never to live peacefully next to the Arabs. It was always to take all the land. And this is the first prime minister of Israel.
You can say that, but
it's the truth.
First of all, they don't own the land.
He wrote it himself.
The Palestinians didn't own the land either. Well, you act like they own the land and they had a Palestinian state.
They were there. They're the indigenous people.
Jews were there, but there were Jews there simultaneously with Palestinians the entire time that Israel has been a thing, period.
Okay.
Way back from Jesus' day. So the Jews never ceased to exist in Israel. They just became a minority, and then now they're the majority again. But they never ceased to exist. You can't say that the Palestinians somehow owned the land or had rights to the land. There would be no British mandate if that was the case. And then also, how did they get exclusivity? They didn't have a government system. There was no state called Palestine. So you have a group of people that come in under the British mandate. These people had their part. These people had their part to negotiate a peace deal and fairness. They had the partition. The Jews and the Israelis, or whatever you call them, they wouldn't be Israelis at that point. They agreed. The Arabs denied it. Okay, 1947.
Which deal are you talking about when they denied it?
The Arabs denied it.
Which deal are you talking about they denied? Which
1947. We'll go with that one.
Okay, they denied it for good reason. I explained it.
You say that's good reason. I don't think it's good reason. That's subjective.
Okay, Brandon, if somebody came into your house and broke in, right, and then told you, right, they broke into your house and they
didn't break in. What do you mean? Nobody broke in anywhere.
Again, I'm just using the analogy here. If someone came to your house,
no, it's the difference between breaking in my house.
Okay, they take 50%. They say, "Yo, we're gonna be hanging out here now." They take 56% of your house. Would you agree to that?
Well, look, let me say this. Okay, Myron,
you would say,
let's say I didn't own a house. And let's say I was leasing a house.
Okay, it's still your property.
Let me say not even leasing. I had a floating lease or something. No real documentation of.
Let's say you're renting it. That's fine. But someone comes in and tries to tell you, oh, you know what?
No, they don't come in. They don't come in. The homeowner tells me that, okay, we're gonna split this house up. You're not even occupying majority of this side of the house. We're gonna give it to somebody else. You stay over here. They stay over here. Let's have an agreement. I don't own the house.
Here's the thing,
so
man.
what am I going to act like?
There was never any peaceful agreement because the Israelis were the Zionists, the colonists were using violence the entire time. They were using terrorism.
They were using violence the entire time.
Okay, so the
British mandate was not violent.
They were killing the Brits too. The Zionists, the King bombing of the King David Hotel, they bombed it. They killed like 100 people.
You're talking about the
state of Israel is created through terrorism.
You're talking about one isolated incident, but you're not talking about any of the Arab incidents where they were killing Jews and they were doing all these. I forget the name of the battles that they were doing. They would come and kill Jews, and they would kill them.
But they were killing them. They came into the. Here's the thing: the Palestinians were there first, right? They were there, and then
no. What do you mean?
And then
the
Balfour Declaration.
Myron, you gotta clear it up. You said they were there first. What does that mean?
Okay,
Jews were there as well as the Palestinians.
Okay. The Jews that you're talking about, Mizrahi Jews, aka Arab Jews, that are actually from that region, they were not the same Jews that we're talking about that occupy and run Israel now, which are Ashkenazi Jews from Ukraine, Russia, Poland. Netanyahu's Polish, okay? Golda Meir were Ukrainian. Menachem Begin, Ukrainian. These people don't have ties to the land like that.
They do have ties to the land.
No, they don't. If you look at there's a reason why DNA tests are heavily regulated in Israel, okay? These people don't have ties to that land. The Jews that you're thinking about, the biblical Jews, are not the same Jews of today. Okay, that is a Hezbollah lie that they use to try to tie themselves to the land and say, "Oh no, look, we're all Jews. We all have Jewish blood, etc." But there's different types of Jews. There's so many different types.
That's not true. There's different type of Jews, but the Ashkenazi Jews and the Jews that were there have different percentages of blood connection to the seed of Abraham. But they're all Jews. Just because they were, I say, forced out of the region at some point and they end up race mixing and coming back to the land, don't mean they have no lineage to the land. That's not true.
Here's the thing.
And they didn't come.
DNA, etc. The Palestinians are the indigenous people to that
No,
region.
no, but the Jews that were there are indigenous too. The Jews that were there alongside the Palestinians this entire time.
Yes, some of them Mizrahi Jews, the Arab Jews that are from the Levant, yes. But the Jews that we're talking about today, the modern Jews, the white-looking guys, these Ashkenazis, they're not from that region.
They have a bloodline lineage from the region. Just because they were born in Poland and other places doesn't mean that they don't have connection to the bloodline in the region.
And here's the other thing too. You want to know? This is going to debunk your entire argument. The guy the father of Zionism, Theodor Herzl. Did you know that he wanted to go to Argentina first? The only reason he picked Israel, which by the way, this guy is secular. He was an atheist, just like Ben Gurion. I find it interesting that atheists say that God promised them that land, but they don't believe in God. It's another Hasbara lie. Theodor Herzl, he originally wanted to go to Argentina. But then he only said, you know what, let's go to Palestine because it's going to be easier to sell for a Zionist project. That's a dirty secret that they don't want to tell you.
But you say that, but it's funny that you say that because you can peddle that on one side. You can say that's a legitimate argument, but it's also biblical that the people of Israel will be brought back to the land of Israel.
But
it's biblical. It's also a biblical prophetic reality, and Zionists believe in that biblical reality, and that was a driving force behind the support from America
that is exactly
and American Jews.
And that is exactly why I'm telling you it's all a bunch of BS, because the founder of Zionism and the first prime minister, Ben Gurion, were both atheists. Theodor Herzl.
Just because you atheist don't mean you don't acknowledge. Just because you atheist don't mean you don't acknowledge the reality.
You don't believe
in
God.
Historicity of it.
They don't believe in God.
They don't have to believe in God,
Brandon,
to understand the validity of what people are trying to convince them to do or trying to partner with them to do.
Okay.
You don't have to believe in God to understand what the Bible says. What
do you not find it crazy that the guy who said we're gonna go to first he said we're gonna go to Argentina, then he said, you know what, nah. For me to sell this Zionist project, it's going to be better if I say we're going to go to Palestine because we have biblical ties to it, and it's going to be an easier sell, and we'll be able to get more people to come and join us over here. You don't think that that's problematic and that defeats the whole purpose of being biblical or doing it for religion purposes?
These guys were secular atheists. If you say that everything the secular atheist is doing is acting in poor faith, then maybe you have a point. But I don't know that man. I don't know his motives. I don't know exactly what his motives or what he was thinking about when he did it. But there is
he wanted to colonize a land. Is what he wanted to do.
There's reasonableness to believing that what are we going to do with all these Jewish people? Here's a land. The British mandated that they can return back to the land of origin. And that's what they did. And they went in waves. They didn't just all come back a million people at one time. They came back 15,000, 30,000, 60,000. And what was happening was, as they begin to come back to the land, they begin to buy up land. They only
owned 6%. They stole the land. They were killing Palestinians and pushing them out of their villages.
Dude, there is no war that you can point to that's historically documented that they stole large swaths of land due to war. These people did not have a military set up initially.
They did. But here's the thing.
When they first came.
Yes, you had the Irgun.
Myron, they did not have a military set up.
Yes, they had paramilitary Zionist organizations called the Irgun, Haganah, Stern gangs. These gangs terrorized and killed Palestinians, pushed them out of their villages, and this is how they were able to take over, and this is how the Nakba was created. Yes,
Myron, these were battles. These weren't wars. These weren't large swaths of Arabs being taken over. These were small battles of small territory. When you talk about these wars that you're mentioning, this wasn't large swaths of displacement of Arab people. That's not true. This happened over
750,000 people didn't just leave, didn't just get kicked out of their homes?
No, the
Nakba didn't happen?
No, it did not happen that way. In the war in 1948, there was a displacement of the Arabs to their own people because they went to war and they told their people to vacate the area, and that after they won, they would bring them all back to occupy everywhere the Jews occupied. What happened was they lost, so they couldn't bring the people back like they had promised. This is all historical documentation. And when they lost, the Jewish people kept the land, and then they began to set up boundaries. If they had remained in the land, unlike what their leaders had told them to do, displacing 700,000 people, then we wouldn't have this problem in the first place. They displaced their own people. This wasn't something that was done by the Israelis or the Jewish people.
So they didn't just the Deir Yassin massacre didn't happen. All these murders of Palestinians and destroying these villages.
Died in that massacre? How many people died in that massacre?
A lot. Somewhere between.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a lot. If you look at the history of the massacres that have happened on both sides, you can look it up. You can do it live. The massacres that have happened on both sides, majority of them were Arab-led massacres against Jews. Now there were, I think, on record, maybe one or two massacres that occurred from the Jewish, against the Palestinians. The death toll maximum, I think, in any one of those, about 2,000 people.
Well, either way,
These were small
50 to 70 were
incursions.
killed.
These were small incursions at times over a large period of time, mostly initiated by Arabs. So this is not some large 700,000 displacement wars that were going on. That didn't happen.
Okay, again, if you got a colonial project coming in, taking your land, kicking you out of your villages, taking your resources, literally having labor unions, not allowing you to sell your fruit, not allowing you to sell your goods, right? And they're taking up the land as they do this. Of course, there's going to be violence. Of course, that's going to happen.
I don't disagree with that.
And they came in and then obviously these partition plans with the Peel Commission, they didn't negotiate in good faith. Then you go to the 47 partition plan. They wanted 56% of the land despite being less than 1/3 of the population, wanting all the good fertile land. They never negotiate in good faith. So of course the Palestinians are going to go ahead and reject the peace plans. And here's the thing, right? I know what you're saying. Hey, might is right. Fine. Let's go ahead and go with might is right. Here's the problem. Israel's never, ever, ever going to get peace until they give the Palestinians a state. The Arab world is not going to recognize them. We're going to always have problems there. Now, here's my biggest issue with all of this.
They don't want a state.
I don't want to support Israel and give them money so they can do a genocide in our name, because my biggest problem is that we give these dickheads the money and the influence and the power for them to do this stuff.
They're not committing genocide, Myron.
They are doing
genocide.
They don't
want peace.
That's irrefutable.
Can you admit that Palestinians don't want peace with Jews? You just are. Now, hold on. Let me finish. You just articulated.
I would argue.
You just articulated a very good reason why Palestinians never want peace with Jews. You're saying that they stole their land from the very beginning.
Yep.
All these massacres happened and they killed them. Why then are you saying a two-state solution would be somewhat of an objective for Palestinian people when you explain an entire history of what you call an apartheid state, a genocide?
It is.
And then you claim that they want a two-state solution. Why would they want a two-state solution if what you're saying previously is true? They never want a two-state solution. They don't want to identify or accept a Jewish state.
They don't want a two-state solution?
They don't want to. Palestinians don't want a two-state solution.
So here's the thing.
Every two-state solution proposed was agreed to, or the Israelis agreed to them. Every one of them.
That's not true. Well, let's go 100%. through it. Okay, so let's go through it. The Oslo Accords. The Oslo Accords was the actual only deal that was probably going to have a framework to actually create a two-state solution. So Yasser Arafat actually conceded, and he conceded a couple of things that were huge that other Palestinians or other Arab nations didn't even want to do. He recognized Israel's right to exist. He denounced violence, and he said that they deserve to live in peace and security. That was a big step. And all he got in exchange was the Palestinian Authority being recognized by the Israeli government. That was supposed to be the framework for them to go ahead and create a two-state solution in the future. Guess what happened? Yitzhak Rabin gets assassinated like a couple of months later, a year later, by a far-right Likud party member. And who takes power? Benjamin Netanyahu. Once Benjamin Netanyahu takes power, he's been caught on video saying, oh, yeah, I sabotaged all the Oslo Accords. They're never going to have a two-state solution.
Where's that video at?
He's in the West Bank, right?
No, show me the video and I believe you, bro.
Okay, let me get the link right now.
I've never seen that video. Just the other day, he, in good faith, he agreed to a peace agreement. We have five. And then the next day, two-state solutions.
And then
proposed.
The next day, he did a broadcast in Hebrew saying like, "Hey, I'm just feigning diplomacy."
If you can say whatever you want, but the agreement is the agreement that he signed off on, and other Arab nations signed off on the same agreement. So he can say whatever he wants. He signed the agreement.
Well, here's the thing: the agreement also doesn't have anything really in stone. It just says, "Oh yeah, we're going to work towards Palestinians' right of self-determination. We're going to work towards it." The Israelis always use this language, this BS language.
Myron, it says specifically, if they give up their arms, they have asylum. They are allowing, which is I think is insane. They're allowing Hamas soldiers to have asylum in Gaza. If they give up their arms, they give back the hostages, and then they agreed that IDF would withdraw. And they have a phase-by-phase withdrawal that they agreed to.
Okay.
And they said that they would give back 1,000 prisoners or something to Gaza. They would hand them over. It's all a part of the agreement. We signed off on it. Israel signed off on it. Other Arab nations signed off on it as an agreement that we will all come together and help rebuild Gaza, which I don't want to do, which I think that Israel would want to do. But that was a part of the agreement that Netanyahu signed off on. There was 5 two-state solutions that were proposed. Subjectively, you could say it never was in the proper favor, but show me a proposal that they were willing to accept ever.
So
you don't want to.
Because here's the thing. What Hamas wants is a permanent withdrawal of the IDF, right, to leave and end the ceasefire and end the ceasefire permanently, like have a permanent ceasefire. The Israelis
don't want to be in control.
That's fine. They don't give a shit about being in control.
They do give. They
No,
do care. The leader of Hamas said we will never surrender.
No.
They said Hamas is a part of the fabric of society.
No.
In Gaza.
They said they'll never surrender, as in like they're not going to stop fighting for sovereignty. But what they're
But
saying,
he said that Hamas is a part of society.
I watched the interview.
Gaza.
He literally said we would step down as the leadership.
So
we're fine with that.
He did. No. Are you saying that he didn't say that Hamas is a part of the fabric of society in Gaza?
He's talking about Palestinians and the Palestinian culture. But what he means by that is, yes, we will step down politically, right? But they want a permanent ceasefire, right? And then a withdrawal of the IDF. But the Israelis don't want to do that. They want to continuously occupy
they agreed to that.
Gaza. No, they're not. They're not pulling out. They're not actually withdrawing. They're just pulling back the troops, but they're not actually leaving the Gaza Strip. They're going to stay in there and still occupy it. And then here's the other thing too: the Israelis can't be trusted, dude. The Israelis bombed Qatar 2 weeks ago. You can't trust these guys.
America did America approve that? Yes, they did.
They told them as they were doing it. And this is what I'm trying to say. This is what I'm trying to say.
America tells Netanyahu. America tells Netanyahu, turn them jets around when they were headed to Iran and land them. And what did Netanyahu do? He did exactly what Trump told him to do. He told Netanyahu, apologize for bombing in Doha. And Netanyahu apologized for bombing in Doha.
He shouldn't even have done it. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. They should be listening to everything. We have the biggest military base there, right? They went ahead and they did a sneak attack trying to kill the Hamas leadership. They failed, made us look stupid, created a whole bunch of problems in the Gulf. Now Qatar, and they're the middlemen. They're the ones that are supposed to negotiate this stuff.
Qatar is not a friend. Qatar is not a middleman. They're not a true middleman.
We have the biggest military base there.
They're harboring
They're a huge ally of ours. Huge.
I doubt that they're a huge benefactor ally of ours. We just have a military base there.
The biggest military base in the region.
They literally have Hamas terrorists staying in Qatar.
Here's the thing.
That's why they got bombed in Doha, because they got terrorists there.
Okay.
What are these terrorists doing in Qatar?
Well, by that logic, the IDF needs to get bombed too, because IDF is a terrorist organization as well.
No, they're not. According
to
what?
They're 100% a terrorist.
They
illegally occupy
land.
They illegally occupy land. They kill people every single day. They kill kids every single day. They fit the definition of terrorism. 100%.
So that means America is
we shouldn't be supporting them.
Terrorists too.
We should not be supporting them.
American military is terrorists too.
No, we should not be supporting them.
No. America military, according to your definition, are also terrorists as well.
We've done some bullshit. We should never went to the Middle East. We should never went.
We killed 400,000 people in Afghanistan. So
we shouldn't have been there.
Are we a terrorist organization too?
We shouldn't have went there.
No, Myron, answer the question.
No, we're not. We're not. But we did do some bullshit.
And we doing the same thing that they did.
Well, here's the thing. We haven't been involved.
We overthrow governments.
There's a reason why.
Our CIA kills people.
Of course.
Our military killed.
Of course.
3.8 million people in Japan. We killed 400,000 people in Iraq. We occupied Iraq, Afghanistan, and that region pretty much for 20 years.
Yeah, but why?
We have done far worse than what the IDF has done.
No, but why?
Because we have war-hungry people that live in our country.
Who are the war-hungry people that live in our country?
Our presidents, vice president, our
their
military
donors,
personnel.
Their donors who are what?
You could add the Zionist component to it if you want to.
That's a huge component. The entire war on terror was basically destabilizing the Middle East for the benefit of Israel.
No, America man, Israel is the size of a pinky finger, dude. It's not
that's
just
fine.
Israel.
It's a small country.
It's American interest.
No,
we have American interests in the region.
See, that's the thing. That's the Hezbollah right there. We get no benefit. We get no benefit from the bullshit that we're doing in the Middle East. The thing is this. We go to war in these Middle Eastern countries for Israel. Why? Because Israel has an enormous amount of lobbying power in the United States, and they control every infrastructure point, whether it's media, the government, big tech, etc. They have an enormous amount of power in the United States and influence, and they use said influence and power to wage a foreign policy that benefits Israel. This is the problem.
No, you're saying that America did all of that, foregoing the benefit of America, foregoing the safety of America and stability of our reputation just for Israel.
Yes.
That's insane.
That is the truth.
Let me put it in.
Let me just say it like this. Jews have too much fucking power in the United States, and it's a problem.
Jews? Which Jews?
The neocons, the tech moguls, the people that run these finance companies, etc. How is it that we have a lobbying group, right? AIPAC, they don't have to register in the FARA at
because they're American citizens.
But they're lobbying on behalf of a foreign government.
And we have other lobbies
How is
on
it?
behalf of foreign governments.
How is it?
We have other lobbies on behalf of foreign
And they have to
governments in the United
register.
States of America.
And they have
No,
to
no,
register.
they're not registered as FARA.
No. They have to
No, we
register.
do. You want
They
to
have
fact
to
check
register.
right on the spot.
They have
You
to
want
register.
fact check right on the spot. No, they don't. We
have to register.
No, we don't. They listen.
The Chinese, Qatar, all these guys, they're not they're registered.
Myron, if you're Americans lobbying on behalf of interest and relations between America and a foreign country, you don't have to register as FARA. There are more than just the Jewish Israeli lobby in America of American citizens doing it. They don't register as FARA.
So you don't think
if you are operating on for a country, you have to register as FARA.
Okay.
We see that Israel registers FARA when they influence things in America.
So Brandon, you don't think the Israelis control our foreign policy?
No, they don't control our foreign policy. They lobby on behalf of foreign policy. They do have some control, but they don't control it completely.
You don't think they have a ridiculous amount of say? We've given them billions upon billions of dollars the past year.
Let's put it in perspective, Myron. Who gives more money, FARA or not, Qatar or Israel?
Israel gives more money.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do, and I'll tell you why. Because private donors don't have to. Myron Mandelson gave Trump $100 million this last year. She's just one donor.
Elon Musk gave him $250 million.
Sure. But what I'm trying to say is
doubled what she gave.
Sure. But what I'm trying to say is that we have a bunch of donors that give money, right? Wink, wink, hudge, hudge, to congressmen, to senators, et cetera, help them, et cetera. That none of that gets. A lot of times that stuff doesn't get reported.
No. Hold on. Let's go
back. They
back
got to use the APAC tracker to find it.
Let's go back to fact base. When you go to FARA, Israel is registered FARA. Qatar, China, Japan, Saudi Arabia, all of them. China, Japan, Saudi Arabia. Did I say Qatar? They all give more money than APAC and FARA registered Israeli donations or Israeli lobby. They give far more money.
Okay.
They give twice as much, 20 times as much money as Israel is putting into our.
Do we have congressmen showing up in Chinese uniforms? Do we have anti-Saudi Arabian laws in place to deport college students? Do we have mass censorship for anyone that's critical of Qatar? No, dude. These guys run our country, and to not admit that is absolutely nuts.
Myron, do we not have laws against what they call it, Islamophobia? Did we not just run through a gamut after September 11th of Islamophobia? You can't say nothing about the Quran in America. Burn the Quran and see what happened to you in America.
You absolutely can. Muslims get shit on all day. Muslims get shit on all day.
And so do the Jews.
No, well, hold on. Here's the difference, though. It took October 7th.
You tell me Jews ain't getting ate up right now.
No, they are. But you want to know why? Okay. Because they're committing a genocide right now, and this is the first time that people are seeing where their tax dollars are going.
What about the Christians? What about the Christians that are murdered? What about the Christians that are murdered and the Jews that are murdered in Syria? What about the terrorist activity that go on a day-to-day basis from Islamic terrorist groups that are killing and beheading people on TV?
We weren't giving Bashar al-Assad billions of dollars a year to kill Druze and Christians, but we give the Israelis billions of dollars a year, and they're doing a whole bunch of bullshit with our tax dollars. How is it
you say
that
Israelis?
Can you say
that both are doing it? If you want to say Israel is doing it, can't you say that the Islamic organizations are doing the same thing? Hezbollah and all these other terrorist organizations, are they doing the same thing?
Yeah, and these organizations were created because of Israel. Hezbollah was created because Israel invaded Lebanon in 1982. Yes. Like, here's the thing.
This is what you're saying. It's a difference between being intentionally or something intentionally happened and something happened as a result of something. It's a big difference.
What I'm saying is this.
You're acting as Israel created Hezbollah intentionally.
Okay. Israel has created all the conflicts in the Middle East. Okay? They've created a lot of problems that we've had to come in and save them diplomatically at the UN and or get involved in wars because of them, or we suffer terrorist attacks because of them. If you look at bin Laden's letter, bin Laden wrote a letter to you. That's actually a big reason why they want to ban TikTok, by the way. There was a letter that went viral back in November of 2023, a letter to America. In that letter, bin Laden wrote out line by line his issues and grievances with the United States. Now, obviously, this letter was banned everywhere back in 2002, but it resurfaced in 2023. And this letter, a big part of it, his issue was our support of Israel. Our support of Israel is what infuriates the Muslim world because we're killing Muslims all the time. We're funding the Israelis to kill Muslims all the time. That's what creates problems.
No. Look at this. Let's put this in perspective, Myron.
And we don't have anti-Islam laws, but we definitely have anti-Semitism laws. Big difference.
No, because we do. Well, first of all, we have hate crimes and we have laws against discrimination and hate based on your religious affiliation. You can't go somewhere and burn a Quran,
Yeah, you can.
and you're going to get in trouble.
You could protest. You could be a college. Okay, here's the difference. I could go ahead and be a college student, right? Let's say I have an F1 visa, and I burn a Quran and say, yo, Islam is terrible. These guys are awful. Nothing's going to happen to me. But if I'm a college student and I burn a Talmud, or I say, yo, Israel's an apartheid ethno-state, or they're committing a genocide, I might get deported. Thanks to Marco Rubio.
Show me somebody burning the Quran. Show me somebody burning the Quran.
They're not going to get deported is my point.
No. You ain't never seen nobody burn a Quran. Have you? No,
I
you
see
haven't.
people burn Qurans all the time.
No, you ain't never seen nobody on college campus.
People do it on
protesting
X. People
Israel.
do it on the internet.
No. You on college? We're talking about college campus. You show me on college campus where somebody's burning the Quran, mocking Muhammad, and saying death to, or saying that, from a statement that's similar to from the river to the sea. When it comes to when it comes to Muslims, you will never hear it, you'll never see it. And then if you saw it and they didn't do nothing, then I'll agree with you. But let's talk about this for a minute.
I'm not going to get deported for burning a Quran if I was a F1 student visa. But if I'm doing something and I'm being critical of Israel, I will get deported.
How can you make that comparison when you ain't never seen somebody burn a Quran on
Mahmoud Khalil is getting deported right now for being critical of Israel.
No, not critical. Organizing a group that's counter to American interest, and also they're saying they want to overthrow Western civilization. He's not just saying he's critical of it. There's a lot of people that are critical of Israel, obviously.
How about the girl? How about the girl up at Tufts? Let's go ahead.
Organizing a group.
How about the girl at Tufts that got deported or getting deported because she wrote an op-ed talking about boycotting Israel? They're deporting her.
Are you talking about the girl that came on to that anti-American?
No, she's from Tufts. She was up in Somerville, Boston, Massachusetts area. She got arrested by ICE. There's plenty of them like that. The point I'm trying to make is that Israel has a ridiculous amount of influence in our government to the point where if college students criticize them, which is their First Amendment right, by the way.
It's not criticism. It's when you're saying from the river to the sea, when you're saying that
this girl didn't say the river to the sea.
Accosting people on campus.
This girl got deported for literally writing an op-ed talking about boycotting Israel. That's crazy. I gotta look into that. I cannot validate that. It's the truth.
But what I'm saying is that on college campus,
I can give you the link, and I'll give you the Netanyahu at the West Bank when he's just sabotaged the Oslo Accords on purpose.
If you give it to me and it's authenticated, I'll make a video about it. So let's put this in perspective. These people are on campus saying pretty much to kill Jews.
They never said that, dude.
From the river. What does from the river to the sea mean?
Saying Palestine will be free from the river to the sea.
What does that mean?
That does not mean killing all the Jews.
No. What does that mean? How they gonna be free from the river to the sea, where it's occupied by Jews right now?
No, they say Palestine will be free, which means Palestinians will have sovereignty. Now, some people want to interpret that as some people want to interpret that as that's genocidal. But here's the thing: they're not even saying from the river to the sea. A lot of these students, they write op-eds and they're getting deported.
No. You're giving one example. Like for instance, you're giving one example of a person writing an op-ed and you're claiming that they got deported. I need to look into it and figure out is there stuff behind it, because you just said the one guy's getting deported because he disagreed with Israel. He coordinated. There's more. Hold on.
He was representing the students. There were Jews that were protesting with him. There were Jews that were protesting with him.
You're being disingenuous because
he went to Shabbat with these guys. He didn't hate Jews, Mahmoud Khalil.
You're being disingenuous because he also had issues with immigration informant. So he did not inform the government that he was a part of a foreign organization. And you have to disclose that if you have a student visa. He did not properly disclose that. That's one of the reasons why he got deported. The other one was conjuring up controversy on a university, saying death to America.
He wasn't saying that.
Not him. I'm saying the organization was doing it. They were accosting Jewish students, and also they were saying
there were Jewish students with him.
They want to overthrow Western civilization.
There were Jewish students with him marching at Columbia.
It don't matter just because they're Jewish. Don't mean that they're not saying things that could be anti-Semitic, or that they're pushing from a river to the sea, or the fact that he did not disclose his foreign involvement with another government and he has a student visa.
Look, my argument here, because remember, this all started because I said that Jews have an undue level of influence in American politics. What I'm trying to explain here is that they are getting students deported for exercising the First Amendment because they don't like what they're saying. That's a problem.
You don't have the First Amendment to the degree in which you can threaten people, you can say that you're going to overthrow the American government, or you're going
Never
to
said
somehow
that.
not disclose. You're going to. They said we want to overthrow Western civilization.
They never said that, dude. Come on,
They
man.
did say that.
That's not what they
Well,
said,
I'll pull
dude.
it up. I'll pull it up and send it to you, and you have to put it on your show.
That's not what it is, man. And here's the thing.
That's
also,
what he said.
Remember, political speech is the most protected, supposed to be the most protected form of speech in the United States, according to the First Amendment. According to the First Amendment, right? Now,
violence is not protected.
They were never they were never pushing violence.
They got video of these students on campus. They were Jewish students trying to go through. They literally are fighting Jewish students and not allowing them to go through the campus.
Here's the thing.
They took over the Jewish hall and they wouldn't let Jews into the section. I mean, dude.
Here's the thing. Come on, you got to remember, there's different groups of protesters. There's a group here. There's another group here, etc. He was representing a certain group of kids that were protesting. The point I'm trying to make here, right, besides going into the details with Khalil's case or the girl up in Somerville or whatever, the point I'm trying to make is that we are passing legislation that basically protects another country or criticism of another country. That is crazy to me. That is crazy to me. Bill Ackman got Claudine Gay kicked out as the president of Harvard because he didn't feel like she went hard enough on protesters in Harvard. Like, dude, Jews run America, and it's a problem. If you don't agree with me on this,
Myron,
that's fine. But
they don't run America. The biggest threat to America is these blue-head devils, these white liberals that are in America. That's the biggest threat to America.
The biggest threat to America is Jewish supremacy and Jewish control of our country. That is the biggest threat to America. And if you don't see that, I don't know what to say. The Jewish supremacy and Jewish control of our country is the biggest threat to this country. By far. That's
the craziest thing ever here. Islam is a bigger threat than anything that Jewish people can ever do.
Okay, who runs Congress? Do Muslims run Congress? Who runs big tech? Do Muslims run Congress? Do Muslims
Jews run Congress?
No, they don't. Jews run Congress. Yes, absolutely.
No, they don't.
90% of them are funded by.
Okay, let me give you an example, Myron, of what you're saying funded. Is Byron Donalds, since he's supported by AIPAC, is Byron Donalds controlled by AIPAC?
Yes.
Okay, let me just tell you how silly what you're saying is.
He's in Florida.
How much money did they give Byron Donalds? AIPAC.
I can look it up if you want me to.
I already looked it up.
How many?
You want to know how much money?
How much?
40,000. I think they gave him $43,000.
It's quite a bit of money.
You know how much money he raised? $13 million. So what kind of impact do they have on Byron Donalds giving $40,000? That's a private jet from Texas back to Florida. That's not no real money. He got $13 million. They weren't even his biggest donor.
Okay.
By far.
I guarantee you, if we looked at his donors, because especially he's here from Florida.
I looked at all his donors.
Some of those donors are probably going to be pro-Israel Zionist Jews.
No, his number one donor is also the number one donor of Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's a real estate agency or something that was his number one donor, and so is Marjorie Taylor Greene. They have the same donors. So AIPAC does not control them.
Okay, so you don't think Israeli influence is heavy in Congress?
No, Israeli influence or pro-Israeli policy is heavy in Congress.
That's a problem. That's a problem.
American citizens. See, this is the problem that people are saying. The reason that Israel is even connected to America, because we have a lot of people in America that are Jewish. We have a lot of people that have dual affiliation. We have a spiritual affiliation and we have a governmental affiliation between the two countries. So this is why you have a lot of people in America who care about the best interests of Israel and the Israel-American policy. If you are saying this is all coming from Israel, I'll have a problem with it. The American people who are supporting and paying money into AIPAC are the ones who are making this decision. If you don't like what Americans think, then that's a different story.
You got a bunch of brainwashed evangelical Christians that read the Schofield Bible, and then you got
that's not true.
That are hardcore Zionists, and then you also
the Bible is very clear that Christians.
And then you got dual allegiance. Then you got dual allegiance Zionist Jews that give a bunch of money and donate. Look, if you don't think that Israeli influence in our government is a problem, I guess that's your opinion. But I think it's a big problem because Qatar doesn't have nearly as much influence in America.
Do you think no, hold on. Do you think Qatari influence in our education system is a problem?
Oh, because they fund colleges?
Billions of dollars of them funding Ivy League colleges. And we all know the crux of what's wrong with America starts on a college campus. They give billions of dollars to universities and Ivy League schools. Is that a problem?
Okay, who runs the Ivy League schools? They're run by Jews. Like the majority of Ivy League schools are run by Qatar. I think like 8 out of the 9 of the Ivy League schools are run by Jews, man.
Myron, I'm gonna give you a shirt that says "All these roads all roads lead to Jewish
It's
lane.
the truth.
Bro, so why would a Jewish university
and here's the thing, Brendan, they don't want you to know this. They're just, they don't want you to know this. When you connect all the dots, unfortunately, they have a ridiculous amount of influence and power in the United States, and this is a problem.
So you're saying that Jews
this is a huge problem.
You're saying the Jews run a university that takes billions from Qatar to preach and I guess lament to anti-Israeli propaganda.
Here's the thing, dude.
Is that what you're saying?
Here's a perfect example. Harvard, back in 2023, right? In 2024, kids were protesting all over the place, pro-Palestine protests. Bill Ackman gets the head of Harvard fired, Claudine Gay, because he didn't like that she wasn't supporting Israel enough just because she didn't. She allowed the students to protest.
How did he get her fired?
He complained to Harvard. He's a huge donor, enormous amount of influence. This is what I'm talking about when I say.
Is he the biggest? Who gives the most money to Harvard? Him or Qatar?
I don't know.
I'll tell you right now, it's Qatar.
Okay.
Billions of dollars.
Okay, but how was Bill Ackman
China.
Okay.
Billions of dollars.
That's fine. Harvard has a huge list of donors or whatever. So that makes my point even stronger then. Bill Ackman doesn't even give as much money, but he was able to get the president fired.
Who fired the president?
Or the probably the board. These schools all have a board.
Okay. So
but he got her fired.
Myron, here's the problem with what you're saying.
The head of Harvard.
Here's the problem with what you're saying.
Okay.
You are attaching ill intent and malice to everything that a Jewish person does. Why can't she just be inept and lost her job because people that are in administration and people who support the university wanted her out? Why does it have to be one guy that happened to be Jewish that has all the pull? It takes more than just him.
Because he said it himself. He said it himself. He was pissed off that Harvard wasn't doing. She was the president of Harvard.
Was he the only one?
Him and
was he the only one mad at what she did?
Him and the Jewish organizations, right, like alumni, basically threatened to withhold donation money and threatened to stop supporting Harvard if she stayed as president, and they got her fired.
Do they have a right to do that? Do they have a right to do that?
Okay, you're taking away from my point.
They did it only because they're Jews.
Yes, pretty much, yeah. That's why, because they didn't like the fact that she allowed these protests to happen in Harvard that were anti-Israel
to run rampant on the campus.
The students, a lot of them Jewish, by the way,
support them.
A lot of students who are Jewish, by the way, were protesting against the genocide back then, and then they didn't feel like she was doing enough to curb the anti-Semitism because they got rid of her. If that doesn't show influence, the point of this discussion here is for me to say that they have undue influence.
She didn't get in trouble until there was people getting bludgeoned on campus who were Jews in front of the world. Bruh. It became a viral, it became a national story. Donald Trump spoke about it. We had congressional hearings on it. Jewish students on campus were getting accosted. This is when it started to unravel.
It was protesting, right?
It's not protest, it's rioting. They literally had police come and shut these riots down. Myron,
again,
police on campus arresting people.
The point I'm trying to make here is no other country has this level of influence where we can get presidents kicked out of Ivy League schools.
Country.
We can go ahead and pay congressmen off. We can go ahead and put laws in place for a foreign country. They don't have to register under AIPAC.
That's not on behalf of Israel. That's on behalf of Jews.
No, it's on the protests were strictly because of what was going on with Israel-Palestine. That's why they protested.
Pushing anti-Semitism against students on campus.
No, they weren't.
Who have nothing to do with Israel.
It was protests against what's going on in Gaza.
But they were targeting Jewish students on campus.
Let's ask this. Prior to 2023, did anyone say anything or criticize Jews or Zionism or any of that stuff? Prior to 2023, October 7th?
I mean, I would say yes, but I don't know.
Okay,
I wasn't involved
so
in
it wasn't.
criticism.
That's fine. Because I've been talking about this topic before it became hot for people to talk about. Prior to October 7th, no one even knew what Zionism was. No one cared. No one talked about it because you would get banned if you talked about Israel, Jewish power, any of this stuff. You'd get banned. Then after October 7th happened and people saw in 4K kids getting blown up and killed every single day by the Israeli government.
Just the kids?
Yes. But the majority of people that have died have been kids.
How is that possible?
Bro, 83% of the people that have died in Gaza are children and innocent civilians.
According to who?
According to the IDF's own stats and numbers.
No, they're 80%.
83%.
Brother,
83% are civilians.
Oh, yeah, you said civilians, but you said kids at first.
Over 50% of Gaza is children. Okay? So over 50% under the age of 18. And they were getting blown up and killed. But let me go back to my point because you're
wait.
You're
Your math
distracted.
is not mathing. Your math is not mathing. You're saying just because 50% of the population is kids, you're assuming that 50% of all the people that got killed are children.
No, I said 50% of the population, over 50%, around 50% of the population in Gaza are children. Then I said,
wait. Define children
under the age of 18. Under the age of 18.
17 and under. Okay.
Okay. So we're talking about half the population, right? Now,
okay.
Of the people, that was just the kids. That's not including the adults that are innocent, everything else like that. Of the people that were killed so far in Gaza, 83%, this comes from internal Israeli documents, by the way, 83% have been civilians. And a lot of them are kids. And then on top of that, we have doctors that have testified that said almost all the people that came in to see that I saw were children that died.
Doctors in Gaza
they're
are
American,
telling you the truth.
American, British, Australian
how
doctors from all over the place.
How would most of them be kids? You saying that kids are just in the buildings by themselves? Kids are just walking the streets by themselves and getting blown up? Myron, the kids are with the adults. So if kids, how would you say majority of these kids dying? If you blow up a building with people in it, is it just kids in the building or adults and children?
What I'm telling you is,
you act like they're just targeting kids, Myron. That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying they don't give a shit who they're targeting.
How they going to target adults without the kids? How they going to target Hamas without hitting civilians? And how you going to hit civilians without hitting some kids?
They don't care. And that's precisely my point. They don't care.
Myron, what are they supposed to do though?
Okay, I'll tell you what they could do. No, here's the thing. Explain to me this then, Brandon. If they have the ability to run a 10-year-long beeper operation where they accurately and systematically killed a bunch of Hezbollah fighters using a very smart technique, by the way. I gave them credit for this. They had the bombs and beepers and walkie-talkies for 10 years. Then, in another operation, they were able to go ahead and get Mossad agents behind enemy lines and destroy Iran's air defenses before they did Operation Rising Lion, where the Air Force came in and was able to destroy them and get air control. How are the Israelis able to do all these complex and sophisticated operations, right? With superior militaries, by the way, Hezbollah, superior to the Hamas, and so is the IRG superior. How are they not able to replicate that to some degree against Hamas? I'll tell you why. They didn't replicate it because they want the land. They could have went ahead.
Myron, what's the replication look like? What software, what beeper scenario do you think they can do against Hamas? When Hamas is holding citizens of Israel as hostages, and they try not to kill the hostages, and then Hamas is hiding behind. And then Hamas is hiding behind people.
Okay.
So how do they get to Hamas without some people being collateral? Which is Hamas's goal. That's Hamas's whole purpose.
Okay.
That the people get killed instead of them. Is that not true?
No. The point I'm trying to make to you here is because you're saying, oh, how should they have responded? I'm explaining to you that Israel has the capability with superior militaries.
Give me an example of what they should have done.
They did. Okay, I'll give you one. They were able to assassinate Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, Iran. So they killed one of the chief negotiator of Hamas in a foreign country that they have problems with, and they were able to do it pretty accurately, and they killed him and his bodyguard. Tell me how they're able to do that in hostile land.
Because he's not he's not in a school, he's not in a building, he's not in a mosque shooting rockets. He's not hiding behind his citizens.
The point I'm trying to make is that they have the ability to do precise strikes and assassinate the people that need to be assassinated, instead of bombing an entire area and killing kids all day.
Killing kids all day. Let's just say that the Hamas terrorists were all in the building with a bunch of people in it. What do you do then?
Send a special forces.
That's how they operate. This is how Hamas operates.
Okay. Use a special forces unit. You guys are able to go ahead and do all these other intelligence operations.
Why do they gotta risk getting killed just to save Palestinians?
That's precisely my point, and that is the problem with the Israelis.
It's a war,
they don't value Palestinian life, and that's fine. And you can tell from they don't. You just said it right now.
They'd kill all of them at this point if they didn't value Palestinian life. They'd kill all of them.
Because here's the thing. I'll tell you this. They're doing this warfare, etc. They're doing all this stuff. They're losing support.
And nobody cares if they lose support. I don't care if they lose support. The war will be over soon. They're not lose support from America.
No, they're gonna. Here's the thing. Why do you think that they're paying influencers $7,000 per post? Why do you think that they bought TikTok?
How many influencers?
Why do you think they're putting out this anti-Semitism?
Myron,
what?
Myron, how many influencers did they pay?
There was a bunch meal with them the other day in New York.
They put a number on there. I think it was like 18.
Hell, you might be getting $7K just for doing this debate. Who knows, man?
Hold on, let's get to that.
Who
Myron,
knows?
you think I'm getting paid? You think I'm getting paid? Honestly.
By Israel?
Yeah, or anybody. Anything to say what I say.
You know what? I'll tell you this. I don't know. I can't confirm or deny. I don't know. I don't know what Israel's doing. They do a whole bunch of shit.
I'll tell you right now, and you and I both know, because
Uh-huh.
I'm sure you done podcasting. You make money on podcasts. First of all, 7,000 per video is decent. That's not enough to make somebody ruin their whole platform over it. That's not a lot of money. And then you got to say they supposedly got 18 to 20 people.
Uh-huh.
How much they paying 7,000 per post? How effective is it to pay 7,000 to a person that got no following? Who are they paying?
Well, here's the thing.
I'm the biggest Zionist in America right now, and they ain't paying me nothing. So who they paying? Because people that support Israel I don't see many of them, and the ones I do see got little bitty channels. And you're gonna pay 7,000 per person for them to push Israeli propaganda to 200,000 people.
Here's the thing. Look, the point I'm trying to make here is that Israel has the capability to do targeted strikes, intelligence operations that are very sophisticated.
And they are doing those.
But here's the thing. They could have done that with Hamas. They could have done that. They've already been able to do it with more sophisticated militaries.
Do it, Myron. Where Hamas is underground somewhere, and they're underground under places that are heavily populated by the
IRGC
people.
has tunnels all around Iran too. How do you think they keep their ballistic missiles hidden?
Well, they
have tunnels everywhere too.
No, they went after ballistic missiles. They weren't fighting a terrorist group on a multi-front basis. And so when you say, how do they get to, and you got to think about this, Myron, Hamas planned it this way. They planned it to where they have to go through the people to get to them. It's not by accident. They put tunnels under schools and they did all this because they knew if Israel retaliated, they would have to end up killing people in order to get to them.
I'm going to refute that. I'm going to refute that right now. Did you know that Hamas put a deal on October 10th to return all the hostages back in exchange for the Israeli government not entering the Gaza Strip?
No. But what else was in the deal?
That was it.
No. They weren't going to give up arms. They weren't going to see sixes. And therefore they attack that. You know, that's the dumbest agreement ever.
But hold on.
Because you give the hostages back and they attack you.
But hold on. Because you're saying their goal was to get Gaza destroyed. And I'm telling you that they literally had a deal in place on October 10th.
Their goal wasn't to get Gaza destroyed. No, I didn't say Gaza destroyed. Their goal was that IDF couldn't get to them without killing hostages or killing citizens. That was their goal. Now they keep prolonging it, so more people are dying.
So, assuming that's true, that they were using the people as like the Israeli talking point, they're using the people as human shields or whatever.
Israeli talking point.
That's
why
a
don't they fight the IDF?
That's an absurd.
Where are they fighting from? Where are they fighting them from?
That's an absurd argument. That they're using them as human shields.
Where's Hamas fighting from?
Well, yeah, they have tunnels.
Okay, and then when they come out of the tunnels, where do they fight IDF at?
They pop out the tunnels, they shoot at them, and then they run back in the tunnels. That's how they're doing it. They're doing straight guerrilla warfare like Vietnam style. And this is why it's going to be very difficult.
On the schools?
What was that?
They got tunnels.
They got tunnels everywhere.
Schools, they got hospitals.
They got tunnels everywhere. But the point I'm trying to make is because you made the argument saying, oh, well, their goal was to use these people as human shields. I'm telling you, on October 10th, there was a deal in place to get all the hostages back to Israel.
Myron.
But in exchange for them not entering. And here's my thing.
If they give the hostages
the Israeli government, here's another ugly thing. The Israeli government doesn't give a fuck about the hostages. They don't.
Myron, if they gave the hostages back on October the 10th, what agreement did they have?
What do you mean agreement? As far as like
they're still occupied. No, they're still occupied.
Yep.
It's still an apartheid state.
Yep.
Israel still is on the West Bank.
Yep.
Israel didn't concede to anything. So why would they on October the 10th want to give hostages back and get nothing in return?
Sure,
that didn't happen.
I'll explain to you why. So when October 7th happened, right? This is what the Israelis did. Zakah organization, the head of that, went around saying, oh, there were babies in ovens. Women were getting systemically raped. There were mass rapes, beheaded babies, the babies in ovens, etc. And Benjamin Netanyahu took this lie and spread it. Next thing you know, Joe Biden saying, oh yeah, what happened on October 7th was horrible. We had beheaded babies, blah, blah, blah. So the Hezbollah, the atrocity started formulating and it started getting crazy. Hamas knew right then and there, oh shit, they're going to level this strip. They're lying about this stuff so that they can go ahead and get support for a war where they're going to decimate this fucking land. Knowing that, they said, look, we're going to go ahead and we're going to give you guys the hostages back so that we don't get utterly destroyed. Because the Israelis ran with the propaganda to fuel their war, to the what they're doing now. And then by the time everyone figured out that they lied about the beheaded babies, they lied about the mass rapes, they lied about them not activating the Hannibal Directive, they lied about all this shit.
People. They beheaded people and they did rape.
They didn't behead babies. They didn't put babies in ovens. None of that is true. That's
they
all
burn
a lie.
babies. They burn babies and they burn babies and parents and stuff alive.
One baby was killed on that day. Her name was
no, there wasn't no one baby.
Yeah,
they got video footage, Myron. Did you see the video?
I did look at it.
45-minute video.
I did watch the 45-minute propaganda video.
I watched some of it, and they were chopping people's heads off, Myron.
Okay.
They were killing innocent kids, executing them.
I'm not saying
killed like 100. They killed, I think, maybe 1,000 people at that festival, gunning them down. They raped women. They took them back to God. They probably raped them over there when they took them back to Gaza.
There's no proof of mass rapes. Number one, because the Israelis,
don't matter about
the Israelis will not.
Rape.
Well,
if you rape 1 or 2 people, that's still too many rapes.
Here's the thing. We don't have any physical proof of that whatsoever.
They got video of them raping a woman.
No, they don't.
And cutting her breast off.
No, they don't. There was none of that. That's not true.
What do you mean? There's people. I didn't see it, but there's people that saw that 45-minute video.
They're lying. I looked at that 45-minute video that you're talking about. Yes, they made it up. That's what I'm trying to explain to you, dude.
For 45 minutes, what did you see, Myron?
Okay,
for 45 minutes.
A lot of them running on dirt bikes, going into kibbutzes, shooting into random houses. Some of them getting killed. Actually, a lot of footage of them getting killed. Actually, and the GoPros. But the point I'm trying to make is that. Here's the thing. I'm not denying the fact that horrible things happened on October 7th. I'm being very explicit about this. Terrible things that happened.
What's the reason behind it, Myron?
Terrible things that happened.
Why did they do October 7th?
Hold on.
What was their plan?
Their plan was to get hostages so that they can do a hostage exchange because Israel's holding 11,000 Palestinians illegally. But the point I'm trying to make is this. That was the goal. It's to do hostage exchange.
They did all that just to do a hostage swap.
Yes. That is why.
That's not a part of any of the negotiations.
What?
Was a 1-to-1 hostage swap.
No, because they understand that if they're able to kidnap one Israeli, they can get back hundreds of Palestinians for that. This is what they did with Eli Shalat, which is actually going to talk about what I was going to say next. Here's the other thing. So they were pushing out these lies: baby cut out of a pregnant woman, beheaded babies in ovens, etc., mass rapes, all these lies, right? From the Zaka organization pushed a lot of these lies because they were the first ones on the scene dealing with the bodies so they could, put them in a proper Jewish burial. The point is that the prime minister ran with these lies and Joe Biden ran with these lies. The entire world was behind Israel, and that's all Israel needed because they said, all right, we're going to level fucking Gaza. And then you have Gallant the day before says, oh yeah, these are human animals. We're going to cut the water. We're going to cut everything. We're going to absolutely destroy them. So they use all this propaganda, this atrocity propaganda, to justify a ridiculous war. And by the time people figured out that the Israelis were lying about a lot of this stuff, it was too late. They were already in. They were already leveling the place, killing people. Yep. This is why everyone's turned on Israel, because they're realizing that they used a bunch of lies to prop up their asymmetric warfare.
The fact that they slaughtered all these innocent people at a festival, and the fact that they took hostages and they also beheaded and killed people.
Okay.
That's enough.
A bunch of the people that were killed on October 7th, here's another dirty thing. The Israelis did it. The Hannibal Directive was activated on that day. Let's do the numbers.
I need proof.
Okay, sure.
Where's the proof?
Let's do the numbers.
Israelis killed their own people.
1,200. Could we agree that 1,200 people were killed on that day?
That's what I'm hearing.
Fair.
I don't know.
First it was 2,000, then they said no, sorry, we miscounted. It's 1,200. So let's go through the numbers.
That's not weird, right? Because
I'm not shitting on them for that.
When it all happened, fog of war. They thought it was more than what was.
That's fine.
There, so
that's fine. I'm just going, the timeline. So first it was 2,000, then they brought it down to 1,200. Now let's go ahead and do the breakdown. 400 of them were IDF, okay, which means they're enemy combatants against international law. Fair game, unfortunately, right?
Fair game.
So that leaves us with about 800. We know that at least 200 of those people were killed through the Hannibal Directive. And the Hannibal Directive is a directive where the Israelis are allowed to kill their soldiers and their people if they fear that they're going to be kidnapped by Palestinian militia groups. And the reason why they have this rule, I'll explain why they have it, is because they know, look it up, search Hannibal Directive. The reason why the Israelis practice this is because they know that if the Palestinians are able to kidnap Israelis, it's going to put them in a very bad diplomatic position where they have to negotiate. And the last time they had to do a hostage exchange of this level, they kidnapped an IDF soldier named Gilad Shalit, or Gilad Shalit, I think his name is. And they had to exchange 1,000 Palestinians for him. One of those Palestinians that came back was a guy named Yahya Sinwar, who was the head of the military wing of Hamas and was obviously doing a whole bunch of shit that pissed him off. He spoke Hebrew. He understood the Mossad very well. He understood Shin Bet. He studied them for 20 years while he was in prison. So he was one of the guys that came back. So the Israelis said, you know what? Never again. We're not going to be appointed in a situation like this. It's just better to kill these Israeli hostages instead of them getting back into the Gaza Strip or wherever because it puts them in a bad spot. Yeah.
Myron, you off on this. The Hannibal Directive is only the protocol to kill soldiers.
Yes.
Preventing them from getting captured.
Also civilians, because
no, it doesn't say civilians in here anywhere.
Of course it's not going to say that. Bro, you do realize that every Israeli is effectively a soldier, right? They have mandatory military service.
No, but
they have mandatory military service.
Yeah, but that don't mean that they're active soldiers at that point.
They're
That's why they make a
soldiers.
delineation between soldiers.
They're soldiers. They're soldiers.
It doesn't say that specifically, and there's a reason why they would not want current soldiers to be captured. It would just say civilians, Myron. Why would it say soldiers if it's obviously clear that everybody serves at some point? So why wouldn't it just say civilians? Why would it have
Because
to say
it sounds horrible to say it that way. They're going to put soldiers so it sounds better. So they have plausible deniability. Like, oh, well, we have to do it because they have intelligence.
You're floating something that's subjectively nefarious. Why can't it just be what it says? Why can't it just be what it says? Where do you have evidence that they're doing that to citizens?
Sure. A couple of Israelis went on a podcast like a day or two after, and they admitted Israeli tanks were shooting into the kibbutzes. The other reason how we know that the Israelis killed them, a bunch of the festival goers that you're talking about, they were burned alive and shot with Hellfire missiles. They don't have that. The Hamas doesn't have that. Who has that? The IDF. Apache helicopters were shooting down and killing them.
Where's the video of that?
There's a bunch of footage on it where Apache helicopters are shooting concert goers. There's footage of it.
I've never seen that. I've never seen that footage.
They don't want.
Send it to.
It destroys the Hasbara. I can send you all of it.
No, send it to me.
I can send it to you.
Bro, if you got video of an Apache helicopter shooting down people,
yes,
I play it on my YouTube channel.
And here's the thing: it's like thermal, so you can't tell if they're Hamas fighters or what it is. So they just shot at everybody. The order, bro. Okay,
come on, Myron.
Here's the thing. Yoav Gallant, he's been indicted by the ICC. He was the defense minister of Israel at the time. He admitted on Israeli TV, and I'll send you the link for this too. He admitted that the Hannibal Directive was in fact activated on October 7th. It was activated.
Yeah, but I'm just reading it right here.
Yeah.
It being activated makes sense.
Yep.
It being activated against active military or on behalf of active military not to get captured, that all makes sense. It's not anything nefarious if the
But that's important to the 1,200 that were killed.
Directive.
But that's important because October.
Well, how many were killed on the Hannibal Directive?
200 confirmed.
And they will be counted as military personnel.
Well, again, so
you said 400 military personnel were killed. There's no video evidence of anything that you're talking about that I've seen, but I'll take your word for it. They do have a Hannibal Directive, but how many people were killed in the Hannibal Directive? And they have to be military active personnel.
We know it was 200.
Not people living in the kibbutz.
It was 200 at least that were killed with the Hannibal Directive.
To who?
This comes from Times of Israel. That's where I got that number.
Well,
but yeah,
I'd believe the government a little bit more than Times of Israel, or at least I want to hear what the government has to say.
That's Israeli media.
Yeah, but the IDF will. I mean, I want to hear what they got to say too.
Well, here's the thing. The point I'm trying to make is this. October 7th, the atrocity they try to sell where they're like, oh yeah, 1,200 people, babies beheaded, babies in ovens, etc. They sensationalized it to justify a war. And to justify not just a war, but a genocide that they have going on now. I'll say this. At maximum, Hamas killed 600 people. At maximum. We don't know how many they killed versus how many the IDF killed. And here's another thing too. You got to understand, every single person that they get back into Gaza, they're able to get hundreds of Palestinians back. So their motive when they went in there was to take hostages for political leverage because they know they can't fight the IDF. They don't have the
but they
ability
killed
to fight
some
them.
of them. They killed some of them, man.
Of
they
course
raped
they
some
did.
of them. They killed them. I mean,
of course they did. And that's horrible. That's horrible.
If they did that in America, what do you think we'll do?
Yeah, it wouldn't be good. It would be good. But again,
why can't Israel? Why can't it be good, not good in Israel's stance?
My thing is
if
this:
they come to America and do that.
Because here's the thing: with the Israelis, we give them money, we give them support. They don't listen to us. They'll disobey us all the time. They do a bunch of bullshit.
They just obeyed us with a peace agreement that Donald Trump crafted, and Netanyahu signed it. We told them to turn them jets around and go land them in Iran.
They bombed one of our best allies in the Gulf.
They had a strategic operation and it failed. And did America condemn them?
They violate the Hezbollah ceasefire all the time. They bombed the Syrians after we had just went ahead and struck a deal with them as well.
And Hezbollah is not launching missiles into Israel as we speak.
No, not to the degree that the Israelis are launching.
Bro, you act like it's one-sided. Hezbollah,
because Israel's the main aggressor. Israel's absolutely the main aggressor in the Middle East.
That's subjective. They're not the main aggressor.
Dude, they've bombed 7 different countries over the past few months.
Yeah, because
they've bombed and attacked all their neighbors.
All of these countries are at war with Israel, and they're a threat to America. That's why America don't have a problem.
They're not a threat to America. That's a lie.
Why are we supporting it then?
Because we have Jews that have a dual allegiance in America.
Trump is not a Jew.
Yes, but he's backed by them. Myron Adelson gave him $100 million for what? For what?
Elon Musk, obviously because he believes in what she believes in. But
she believes in Israel. She's an Israel.
Well, he got he raised he got $2 billion. Then think about it. He got $2 billion. Myron Ellison gave $100 million.
That's a lot.
Elon Musk gave him $250
and she's given him
million.
She's given him $300 million over time. Why did Bill Ackman and all these other
Elon Musk? But Elon Musk, you're leaving out the fact that Elon Musk gave double what she gave to Donald Trump.
But Elon Musk is donating from a position where, I'm going to get to be involved in the government. I'm going to be able to head a Doge. I'm going to have some influence, etc.
Think about this. No.
He's
Who
not
has more
donating that
influence?
money for Israel. He didn't. I doubt he donated. What?
Who has more influence, Myron Adelson or Elon Musk? Elon Musk worked in the government for $250 billion.
With Donald Trump?
He worked in the government, brother.
Myron Adelson has been to the White House more than anybody else. That's not a government employee.
Elon Musk had Doge, where he had access to all our government, or at least the government to do audit. Nobody else had access like that. And then he was in the White House more than anybody else.
Yeah, and then he betrayed Trump and he got pissed off or whatever the point is.
So therefore, they tell you that Trump don't care about nobody's money. Because the man that gave him the most money that he allowed him to start Doge, he kicked him out when he was disrespected.
Well, he was already in at that point. He was already in at that point. He needed the money, bro. He was facing 4 different criminal cases. He was getting sued out the woozah. Trump needed the money. 100%, bro. 100%.
How he going to get the money? It was donated to his campaign, not to his personal pocket.
No. But I'm saying he needed money to run when he was going in 2024. But once he got in, I was like, all right, fuck Elon. Who cares? But the point I'm trying to make is that...
Myron, you stretching here.
How am I stretching?
You're using money given to Trump and Myron Adelson. She didn't give him
$300 million
over time. Yeah, one hit. Elon gave him $250, and that's not even including how much he helped Trump in winning the election. He was giving people $1 million to register to vote. He
helped
probably had more influence in Trump winning the election, and he owns X.
Okay,
so he's posting every day on X.
Here's the thing:
he gave Trump X back. I mean, this dude had way more impact in this election.
I get that, but you can't refute the fact. Here's the thing: donors all have their own agendas, right? With Elon Musk, it's power, influence, less regulation, etc. With the Adelsons, it is protect Israel. That's what she cares about. Not only that,
it's not just protect Israel, brother.
That's her. She's a single issue voter. All she cares about is Israel. That's all she cares about.
Because if America go to crap, Israel don't exist.
Which is why she donates money. That's why she donates money, to ensure that there's always Israel's at the forefront of conversation. She was huge in
Republican side.
She was the one that got Marco Rubio in.
She didn't donate money to a Democrat.
She got Marco Rubio in. She literally said, "Hey, I want Marco Rubio in." He got put in as Secretary of State. Also, how is it that Bill Ackman and all these other guys that are lifelong Democrats, right? All these Tech Valley bros came out of nowhere to support Trump. Why? Because of Israel. This is what I'm trying to say.
No, it's not, because he's best for America, brother. What are you saying?
Okay, he could be best for America, but also be best for Israel. What I'm trying to say is...
it could be a dual... But you think they wouldn't vote for him if he's good for America, but he's lukewarm on Israel?
Yes.
They would have voted for him.
They would not vote for him. If he was not super pro-Israel, these tech bros would not have left bipartisan lines to come over and vote Republican. There's no way.
Let me dismantle
that just proves what I'm trying to say.
Let me dismantle your argument. Trump has been pro-Israel since 2016.
You're correct.
They didn't vote for him in 2016?
Yeah. What?
They didn't support him in 2016?
Yeah, because Israel didn't need the level of support that it needs now after October 7th.
They're
in the middle of a war now. They need more support now than ever before.
Donald Trump was instrumental on making Jerusalem the capital.
Sure.
And switching our embassy to Jerusalem.
Yes.
Or recognizing as the capital, switching our embassy to Jerusalem.
Yes.
They literally got a sign on the Golan Heights of Donald Trump. It's called Trump Heights. Donald Trump was one of the biggest Zionists.
I agree.
As our president before 2020 or 2024.
You're correct.
So these people switching wasn't just an Israeli thing, because I tell you what, every presidential candidate kisses the butt of Israel. Which one hasn't?
John F. Kennedy. But
Kennedy, I'm talking about more modern.
And they killed him. But the point I'm trying to make here is here's the thing.
Israel killed him? You said Israel killed him?
They definitely had a line in killing him. Yes, absolutely. There's a irrefutable proof that they were involved in his assassination. It's not even funny. Everything with the setup in Dallas, Texas, etc. That's a whole other conversation. But let me tell you this with Trump. Here's the thing, right? When I say that these Jews have a allegiance to Israel that is very strong, let me explain what I mean by this. How is it that someone who is a never Trumper like Ben Shapiro, or someone like Jonathan Greenblatt, who is a lifelong radical leftist, right? And then you got Bill Ackman, also a lifelong Democrat, or any of these other Tech Valley bros, They all came and started to support Trump. Why? Because Israel is in the middle of a very important conflict right now that's going to dictate the future of the state and the Middle East. So all these guys voted for Trump. Why? Because they knew that he was going to give Israel the support that it needed and the money it needed to fight this war. So what did they do? They abandoned their party lines here in the United States because Israel comes first. And this is what I mean. We have people in positions of power and great influence that always put Israel first, and they will go ahead and betray their party if it means supporting Israel. Zoran Mamdani, Bill Ackman is waging a whole thing against him right now, even though he's a lifelong Democrat, because Mamdani is against Israel. He doesn't like Israel. So what is he doing?
Have you ever heard Bill Ackman explain why he's Republican now? Just like
for
every
Israel.
Other rational person that becomes Republican?
For Israel.
He
voted Democrat his entire life.
Myron, you can say that, but that's you making a hypothesis. That don't mean it's true.
He's a hardcore Zionist.
Myron.
He's admitted this many times.
Myron, our country was at stake in 2024. Everybody in America saw, even Elon. Why would Elon switch? Elon is a Zionist. It's because our country was at stake, man. And everybody saw how poorly that our country was run. And when Elon took over X, everything was getting exposed what the Democrats are doing. We don't even know who was running our country during the Biden administration. They put up Kamala Harris. I mean, so it's a lot of people that realize what was at stake with America. I ain't nobody, Israel is on retainer. I mean, there's no president except Kennedy, you said, that wasn't keeping Israel on retainer. They have a military budget that we started way before Trump was in office. So I don't think there was anything that'll make a person switch parties necessarily.
That goes to my argument that they have a disproportionate amount of control in our government. I would say
control. They have a disproportionate amount of support,
influence, and control
because people love Israel. Like you're trying to say that
to the detriment of the United States.
I don't think it's a detriment of the United States.
We went to war in Iraq because of them.
No, it wasn't because of them. It was because our own selfish interest.
No, bro, we went to war.
I would argue we 100%
went to war in Iraq because of the Zionist Jews that were the framers, the neocons. All of them were Zionists or Jews. Everyone that was involved in the Iraq war from beginning to end, the Crystals, these guys.
We went to war, and I would argue we would. If I were to say, I bet we used intelligence from Israel to justify our war. That's why we brought Netanyahu to tell the world.
It was fake intelligence.
I don't think it was bad intelligence.
They lied about anthrax. They lied about anthrax getting passed from a hijacker.
I think America knew.
They claim this is their claim. Mohammed Atta received anthrax and intelligence from an Iraqi intelligence officer. That was what they used to link us to 9/11, to link Iraq to 9/11. It was a lie.
You're absolving America for our sinful deeds. I think America knew that none of this stuff, if in fact not true, we knew it wasn't true. We wanted Benjamin Netanyahu to be an ally in telling us what's happening so we can do our own dirty dealings. Bro, you know how much money Raytheon made? You know how much money some of these American companies made?
Sure.
It's a reason why we want to keep going to war.
Sure.
And the thing is that Israel, when they go to war, all of their military equipment comes from the United States of America.
Sure.
They have to purchase American contractors, and they have to purchase American equipment. So America, when Israel go to war, we win. And when we go to war, we accumulate wealth. I think America is the biggest problem. Israel is.
Well, who runs America then, Brandon? Who runs America?
I mean, it's a few different things.
See, it comes full circle. Jews run America. Really? Jews run America.
How do Jews run America, Myron?
Okay.
Who's in charge right now? Who's the leader of the country?
Donald Trump. And
Who's the Speaker of the House?
Mike Johnson, whatever.
Mike Johnson.
But all these guys are hardcore Zionists. They don't have to be Jewish. They're hardcore Zionists. He was in the West Bank taking pictures. He was in the West Bank taking pictures.
Because they love Israel.
Bragging.
Because they love Myron. Because they love Israel. How is that nefarious?
Paid by Israel.
Their payment to Israel is not the only reason why they love Israel.
You're telling me that doesn't influence it?
I don't think so. I think what's happening is they're picking people who love Israel.
I think if you get $1 million, $2 million from a person, right, a donor, you're probably going to care about what they care about, and that donor is going to say, you know what, just protect Israel for us, okay? You might come on.
No, Myron. I think you got it backwards. What you got it backwards. What the donor is looking for is I'm gonna put money behind a person that agrees with my position,
and then you can influence that position.
Yeah, but they already agree with it.
No.
So me.
They agree
Brandon
with it because
Tatum,
they're getting paid.
No, that's
Or they're
that's
misinformed.
subjective.
Or they're
No,
misinformed.
that's subjective. I think that for instance, I'm a Zionist.
Yeah.
If I were to run for office, a bunch of people who are Zionists would love to back me.
Yep. You're right.
They're not going to make me be a Zionist.
Okay.
They're just going to back me because I am a Zionist.
Let's go through this. If me and you both ran, right, for government in the United States,
yes,
you would be able to raise a significant amount more of money than I can because you are pro-Israel.
from Jews. No, I'll raise money from Jews more than you would.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. They're the ones that have a ridiculous amount of wealth in this country and have a ridiculous amount of influence. Okay? They run the media. That's the truth.
But think about this.
They run social media platforms. That's the truth. The head of
Myron.
all the main agencies was a Zionist Jew, pretty much. YouTube, Susan Wojcicki, right? Now it's Neil Mohan.
Myron, if that was true, if
Instagram,
they were doing
Adam Asari, Mark Zuckerberg.
Myron, if that was true, then the propaganda
Google, Sergey Brin.
The propaganda against Israel and all the mainstream media just bashing Israel every day, that wouldn't exist if they ran out of media. And then every Zionist,
it's literally about to get censored. They've just bought TikTok. And then here's another thing too. Notice how I know you said that the media bashes Israel all the time.
They bought TikTok.
Yes, Larry Ellison, who is a huge Zionist supporter, gives millions of dollars to the IDF, bought TikTok.
How is it just
he's
because
a Jew as well.
He's a Zionist?
He's a Jew as well.
He's Jewish, meaning they won.
No, I'm saying that they are
going. They bought. You said they bought it.
Yes.
America bought it. An American bought TikTok.
Yes, an American.
They didn't sell it to an Israeli.
Who also donates a lot of money to a foreign government and is friends with the prime minister and lets him vacation on his island.
Listen,
Larry Ellison is a good friend of Netanyahu.
I think you're conflating the two things. If I had enough money to buy TikTok, would I be? Would you say the same thing about me? I'm a stunt Zionist.
No, my point is that if me and you ran for office, you would be able to get a significant amount of more money and support, and you would.
That's not true.
Yeah, you would. You would.
That's not true. Hillary Clinton raised way more money than Trump, and he's a stunt Zionist.
Well, she was an established. She's an established politician, and Trump didn't need the money like that in his first run.
Even his second run, Kamala Harris outraised him by a large amount, and she was only in the race for a couple months. So I don't think that's true. I think, Myron, if you were to say
they control both
sides,
get
a lot of Jewish donors, or Jewish people would support me over you.
Yes, and you would also have a foot in with the government because they run politics.
But they're not going to make me be a Zionist.
Why does why is it that Thomas Massey is always in fear of losing his position? Why do they go ahead and call him anti-Semite, and it's hard for him to get any type of anything get pushed? He's like literally like ostracized. Right?
Well, Myron,
MTG is starting to get ostracized now. If you're not a Zionist, it's very hard to be a politician in America, is my point.
First of all, she has won multiple elections. I don't think anybody's challenged her any way significantly.
It's going to be harder on the next run.
She didn't have to go kiss the wall or nothing like that. So she's just fine.
She was a Zionist before. Now she's changing her mind. But what I'm trying to say is you can't become a politician of real consequence in the United States unless you're a Zionist. That's my point, which means they have a ridiculous amount of influence in America. 90% of Congress is funded by them.
That's true. I think what happens, Myron, maybe we're saying the same thing. What I'm saying is that there's people in America who are Zionists.
Yeah.
They love Israel. They believe in it because of the spiritual connection,
sure.
all of the above. When those individuals run for office, there's a plethora of Zionists and Jewish people are going to support that person. And they may win because there's a lot of people with a lot of money that want a politician to represent them. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Why is it nefarious?
The reason why it's nefarious is because...
Only because you don't like Zionists. If you like Zionists, it wouldn't be nefarious.
Okay. It's a problem because we have a foreign state that has a ridiculous amount of influence on our political process.
It's not a foreign state, Myron. It's that Jewish people live here in America.
Yes.
And they have a heart, and they also have an affinity to their homeland, Myron.
And they will put America second because of that affinity to that homeland. You cannot have dual allegiance. Here, I'm going to be also honest here. You cannot be an American patriot and a Zionist at the same time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can.
You got to
Why
pick.
not?
You got to pick one.
How?
Because
How?
because goals and what we're trying to do doesn't always align. And a lot of the times we have to bend the knee to support Israel and put ourselves in very precarious political situations because Israel runs rampant. Israel's wars and their bad foreign policy and their cowboy activities run rampant all across the Middle East. They're doing a genocide right now in our name. This makes us look like shit.
I disagree with that.
You cannot have dual allegiance. You got to pick one. It's either you're an American patriot or you're a Zionist. Can't have both.
I don't believe that's true. You can be an American patriot, America first, and you can also support Israel. Israel does not come before America, to me. If we went to war with Israel, I would treat them the same way that I think about Hamas.
Fine.
If somehow
Fair.
they ever did an infraction in America, we will take over Israel and it will become a Christian nation.
Fine.
And I believe that with my whole heart.
But here's the problem,
Netanyahu
though.
does not have
the Jews don't
any
think that
say
way,
with
Brandon.
what Trump is
That's
doing.
fine. You're
You say
thinking
what?
that way. That's fine. You're thinking it that way. But what I'm saying is the Zionist Jews that live in this country that have the influence that are paying these politicians don't think that way. They look at Israel first. That's all I care about. They are single-issue voters. This is why a guy like Ben Shapiro, who doesn't like Trump, went ahead and voted for Trump. This is why a guy like Bill Ackman, who never voted Republican in his fucking life, voted Trump. I'm trying to explain to you that these people, that they will always pick Israel first, and it's dangerous to have individuals like that in positions of power in our government that have a dual allegiance because they're always going to pick Israel first. They have way too much power, way too much representation in our country, and honestly, no one that has an affinity to Israel should be in positions of power in the United States because it puts us in bad situations. Like we are now.
Myron, we will end on this in an agreement.
Sure.
I do not think people who have a dual allegiance, or when I say dual allegiance, but they have an affinity, an allegiance to Israel over America, should be serving in the American military. I mean, serving in the American politics.
I agree.
In American politics. I do not think a person that comes out and says that they believe in Israel over America should be serving anywhere. I will never support a person like that. And I think there's no place in America for somebody like that. If you live in America, America comes first. If you Jewish, if you African, I don't care what you are, America comes first. And so we will agree that it is a problem if people put Israel over America and they're serving in our government. That is a problem, and you and I both can be against that person.
Yes.
I will join you in that effort to, if a person is legitimately saying, I prefer Israel over Americans' interests, I disavow that person. I will never vote for that person. And you point them out, I will shun them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think anyone that has another passport, or even someone that has a, I don't even think people that have a tie to Israel should be in politics at all.
That's not right, because I know people. One of my friends, he got married, and he has, I think they gave him dual citizenship in American Israel.
Shouldn't
he probably
serve.
would never go there because it's hard for it to get over there.
He shouldn't serve.
No, he didn't serve anywhere. He a proud American.
But that individual should never.
Bryson Gray, Bryson, he raps.
Yeah, he has an Israeli citizenship.
I think they grant you Israeli citizenship when you get married by a rabbi.
Yeah,
we were at his wedding. They got a certificate. They got a certificate where they can be.
If you got a foreign passport at all or foreign citizenship anywhere, I don't care if you go there anyway, you should not be able to serve in any type of government capacity.
I think. Well, let's say this. We can agree on.
We don't allow it for any other country, by the way. Just so you know, no other country can do that.
I disagree with what you're saying, but I also think that person should be scrutinized. Right? It's skeptical if you have dual passports and you somehow have citizenship in two countries. You should be scrutinized. I can't say that every single person that has that situation is somebody that don't love America.
Israel's like one of the biggest thieves of our technology, right? And our intelligence.
Who?
Israel's one of the biggest thieves of our technology and our intelligence.
I don't know if that's verified.
They are. And we
CIA. Whose intelligence community is bigger? Multiple. Theirs or ours?
Honestly, dude, the Mossad is right there alongside us.
Yeah, but
they've done more assassinations. They've been operating, just as long.
If you think they're stealing our stuff, if you think they're stealing our stuff, I bet we're stealing their stuff.
Well, I mean, it's our
stuff. If you think they're
stuff.
spying on us, I bet we spied on them. That's how we know they're spying on us.
Yeah, but the difference is that they are supposed to be beholden to us. They shouldn't be spying on us ever. But they've been caught multiple times stealing from us, stealing our technology. They have nuclear weapons. They stole their nuclear weapon technology from us, right?
And you think we don't know what they got?
Well, yeah, we know what they got, but they stole it from us is the point.
No, do you think we don't know how they got it, when they got it, where they got it stored? Do you think we don't know? And the equipment that we give them is antiquated equipment. They don't have the same jets we have.
They stole it.
They don't have the same military capacity we have. And they have to buy their stuff from us.
No, I get that, but they stole technology from us is my point. They have an illegal nuclear weapons program they stole from us.
Well,
their spies have been caught multiple times that CIA operatives, Andrew Bustamante and John, I forget his last name, he's Greek. Both these guys are CIA. They admitted the agency that you cannot have relationships with is anyone from Israeli intelligence because they're so big with counterintelligence. They steal our shit all the time.
Well, if that's true, and I'm not going to argue with you because I haven't verified it.
I will send you
send me your sources.
I'll send you the Netanyahu Oslo Accord thing where he said he was going to destroy it in the West Bank. I'll send you the Hannibal directive. I'll send you the numbers, all that stuff. I'll send it to you.
All right, perfect.
All right.
All right, thanks, man. I got to run. I mean, we on here 2 hours. We supposed to be just an hour.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. We'll have another one, another discussion on the other stuff later.
All right, we got to talk about marriage and women. And
let's do it, man. We can do it next week if you want.
What do you do? Polyamorous
polygamy?
Stuff polygamy.
Yeah, we could do it. We could do it next week if you want.
All right, we'll set it up, man.
All right,
I appreciate the debate, man.
No. It's a good discussion, bro. It's always good.
All right, see you.
All right, brother.
Peace.
Take it easy. Okay, guys, we'll keep the stream going. Give me 1 sec. All right. So what I'll do is, hold on, guys. I gotta close this shit. All right, give me 1 sec, guys. We'll get that camera back on. All right, there we go. All right, what do we got? We got 10,000 you niggas in here. Yo, smash the like button for me, guys.